Horror stories for brown folks. Read by the family man Shabazz. Written Let's begin. Daryl Omar Shabazz. Hey baby, I'll be doing this in a much different style. My wife whispers as softly as she can without waking me from my sleep. Whereas before I narrated, refusing to open my eyes, and voice acted. Turn off your damn alarm clock before I break it. For this, she starts nudging me with her freezing feet. I will merely be your narrator. I just turn over, trying to steal a few more moments of sleep. Hazel contemplates throwing her pillow at me, but instead joins me in burying my head under my pillows. Why set it so early if you're not even going to bother waking up? I have to walk the dog, but Buster's a bastard. He can wait. I grunt while trying to rip the covers from Hazel's bedside. Can you share, like, a little bit? I swear. Women only get this tough with blankets and kicks to the groin. He's a dog, she giggles, finally relinquishing the blankets to cut off the alarm clock. What is this grudge you have against him? It's not a grudge. It's the truth. The dog is like 10. Buster's an old, grumpy bastard. You ever notice the way he acts? He's a pain. You're so grumpy this morning. She kisses me. What's wrong? I shake my head. Nothing. Martin, please just tell me. Seriously. I don't want to bother with this. Martin, we went to therapy for this. Please just... She takes a deep breath. I pull her into my chest and kiss her forehead. Don't worry. I'm just trying to enjoy the moment. It's rare I ever get to see you anymore. As if you're always around, but never truly here with me. It's empty. Yuck. You're such a hopeless romantic. She kisses me again, and I savor her tender lips, softer than clouds have to be. She picks up on my frustration quickly. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh. What do you want me to do? Why don't we walk the dog together? I'm sure Kendall would love to see you. Hazel playfully whines. I'm not a morning person. Don't make me get out of bed. I'm so comfy. Come on, Hazel. We used to do this all the time. That was 2 kids ago, she laughs, before looking up at me, sitting on the edge of the bed. I'm sorry, baby. I'm not mad or anything. I'm not. I miss you. She wraps her arms around my neck. Her touch sends chills down my spine, forcing me to shiver. People ask about you. They want to see you, but what do I say? Hazel taps her finger to her chin. How about... Oh, we'll have Kendall over for dinner tonight. And, as a bonus, I'll have the kids ready before you get back from your jog with Buster. Deal? You mean in time for me to cook? She sits back knowing my answer. So, it's settled. My back cracks as I stand to my feet. To be 45 and only getting older. I begin walking to the bathroom. Nice butt, babe, she cheers from across the room. It's just for you, Hazel. I kiss her on the forehead. I'll see you tonight, right? Don't you always? She watches me walk over to the armoire. You know that I love you, right, Martin? The question caught me off guard. I felt bare. The draft swept through the room, reminding me of her touch. Baby, did you hear me? Yeah, I don't doubt that anymore. I smile as I slip on my sweatpants before sitting next to her in the bed. Baby, it's not your fault. I just want my wife back. We'll make it better, baby. I promise. We'll do better. Enjoy your run. We hug before she curls back up in bed, and I grab my trainers. Damn it, Martin. You know damn well it wasn't time for drama. Get a grip, you insecure old goat. Get hold of your insecurity and fight this damn dog. Maybe if we rush, we can catch Hazel before she leaves. Buster, Buster, come here, boy, I shout, no louder than a whisper as I tiptoe down the hallway, trying my best not to wake the cretins I call children. There's a whimpering coming from Ayana's bedroom. I push the door open to her princess-themed bedroom with Batman, the Game of Thrones, and Spider-Man posters on the wall. The girl kept me on my toes. She couldn't just be a princess, she had to be Princess Spider-Woman or Nymeria. I find Buster cuddled under Ayana's tiny arms. Her little face rests on his neck as if it was a cushion. They've been sleeping like this since she got out of her crib. Buster, get over it, damn it. His ear perks up. He lets out a snore, ignoring me. Hazel thinks this is all in my head. This dog is a bastard. Daddy, I'm trying to sleep. Ayana whines. Buster gets up. I can almost hear him snickering at me as he trots out of the room. A smug look on his mud face saying, "Look at what you did now, dummy." Hush up now, baby girl. I kiss her forehead after kneeling in front of her. I just came in for Buster, sweetheart. Nighty's gonna get out of your hair, but since we're talking about hair, when will you start taking care of this nappy afro? I told you, if you want to grow your hair natural like Asada's, you have to take care of it as she does. I comb through her tangled mass of naps and curls. My eldest has been singing the natural hair sermons as of late. It wasn't long before Ayana was running around like she was fresh off the boat. Can Kendall come over and do my hair like hers? She suggests, recruiting my neighbor, an old flame. Braids, you mean? I asked, trying to recollect Kendall's latest hairstyle. Yeah, those. She gleams with a toothless smile, too adorable to reject. Wouldn't you rather Asada do it? I'm not sure if we should bother Kendall. She's already doing so much for us. But it hurts when Sada does it. Kendall's hands are soft. I nod in agreement. I suppose her hands are more velvety than the average bear's. I do it my best Yogi Bear impression. It gets a giggle out of Ayana. You talk funny, Daddy. It's my Yogi impression. She smiles, shrugging her shoulders with a giggle. Before her time. She's coming over for dinner later. I can ask her then. Wait. Hold on. Open your mouth. Sporting a fresh pulpy hole in her gums. You're missing another tooth, I groan. The kitty's eating through my bus fare. Ayana, you must let them fall out on your own, sweetie. But they hurt, she whines. I rub my temples, contemplating how much braces will cost once they grow all crooked. Did you tuck it under your pillow for the tooth fairy? I asked, rubbing my temples. Yes, but she didn't come yet. Do you think the tooth fairy is running out of money? She taps her chin. She's been shortchanging me lately. I'll talk to the tooth fairy. I get some sleep. I took her back into bed. I kiss her on the forehead. She falls back to sleep almost instantly, sliding 50 cents under her pillow and extracting the tooth with the agility of a thief. I meet Buster at the bottom of the staircase. He sat on his haunches, his eyes scanning the living room. Nothing much more than knickknacks, buddy. I clip him up with a leash and he jerks from his neck for me to follow. I yank on the collar and he reluctantly follows behind me. My greatest adversary in life is a damn dog. What does that say about me? We see Kendall packing her car to leave for work. As we get outside, she waves to get my attention. Hey Martin, are you taking Buster out for a jog? Kendall looked beautiful in her pinstripe suit, ebony midnight sin, and long natural braids she'd been growing for years. Of course, I get to start the day off right. Are you doing anything tonight? I ask, rubbing my neck. Kendall smiles. No, I'm not. Why? She bounces foot to foot. Are you finally asking me out? It's been a while since we've done something together. We were wondering if maybe you would join us for dinner. How about it? Oh, join you and the kids? I was hoping you would eventually ask me out, she chirps. I would love to. I love your kids. They need a mother in their lives. It was Hazel's idea. I say a bit defensively. She raises a brow, taken aback, as she tries to find her words. Hazel asked? She rubs her neck. Is that a joke or something? No. We haven't seen in a while. We were hoping we could all catch up. Kendall pauses for a moment. Are you feeling okay, buddy? She presses her hand to my forehead. Where did you get this idea, Martin? Of course, I insist. Swing by around 7. All right, Kendall? It'll be a great time. Buster is tugging at the collar. It seems Buster wants to get going. I'll see you later. I call behind me as Buster starts pulling me down the street. I wonder why Kendall had been so shaken and surprised. I mentioned Hazel and she acted as if I was crazy. I knew it had been a while since we sat down for a nice dinner, but there's no reason for her to seem that surprised. Buster and I jogged for a few miles before reaching the hiking trail. Early mornings like these allow me to take him off the leash and let him run around. He tricks up before me as I look around for new flowers in the bloom I might be able to pick for Hazel. She used to come with us all the time. I would make a bouquet of wild flowers. The flowers don't seem to bloom as beautiful anymore, and their beauty has lost their luster when they do. No day looks as bright without Hazel around. Buster keeps looking back, likely questioning what was taking me so long. Sorry, buddy, just feeling a bit sluggish this morning. I hike, letting him run around me in a circle. Buster braces himself and dashes off in the opposite direction, acting like a puppy again. He leaped up and down for my attention. I find the lovely orchid halfway up in the range. Hey, Buster, come here, buddy. I wave him over. He sprints over to me, nuzzling my neck and my hands for me to pet him. I used to pick these for Mommy all the time. He tries to eat it and I pop him on the snout. Hey, little bastard, it's for Hazel. Buster runs around as I stumble about, trying to find all the fairy slipper orchids. I picked a bouquet for Hazel. That took much longer than I expected. Buster and I rushed home, hoping to find Hazel just getting ready to leave for work, but I didn't see her car in the driveway. Upon getting home, we're attacked by the door by Ayana. Buster's home, she cheers. Buster bolts into the house as soon as I unclip his leash. He looks all over Ayana as she clings around his neck like a bit of a monkey. What about me? I kneel. And she jumps onto me, nearly giving me a heart attack as I try to catch her. I hoist her into the air and she cackles and kicks her feet in excitement. Give Daddy a kiss. You don't have to ask, Daddy. You know I love you. Buster's a doggy. He has to hear it, silly. She kisses me on the forehead and I let her down. She runs after the dog and they collide into the furniture and walls as they race into the living room. She barks the whole way, yapping and growling with him. I have to keep reminding myself, it's just a phase. Sometimes Dad needs to hear it too, sweetie, I mutter. She was already gone to the next room, having the time of her life with Buster. Dad, Mason shouts. My middle child catches me off guard. Hey, buddy, how are... Watch your step, he shrieks, running to scoop up his tarantula. These kids and these damn pets. Don't worry, Charlotte. Daddy wouldn't crush you. He scoops up the spider, petting it like it wasn't an eight-legged spawn of Satan. Oh, great. It is a name now. I wouldn't tell it that, I mutter, watching as Mason begins running up the stairs to put his furry bugs away. Good morning to you too, Mason, I call after him. Sorry, Dad, I love you, Mason shouts behind him. I enter the kitchen where my lovely eldest daughter sits in her tattered jeans and pro-era t-shirt. I hold back aghast, looking at what she's done with her hair. The sides were shaved down to the skin, and the top had long braids rolling down the back. She's been harping about this braid hawk for quite some time. I never thought she would do it. You look like you just got back from a Panther rally. Did you tell Farrakhan I said hi? I began to get out the eggs and beef bacon. She pretends not to hear me, but her cracked smile betrays her. She turns up the giant headphones half the size of her head. Hello, Asada. She mutters, nodding her head along to the jazz. At least the girl had good taste in music. Her saxophone case bounces in her lap as she begins to tune out from the world with Dizzy Gillespie. My fault. I was going to ask if you wanted waffles today, but I guess you want some Raisin Bran instead. Dad, stop blaming my emotions. She fights to get her headphones over those braids without tangling. The music blares out from the headphones in her hand. Don't joke like that. I love waffles. You're going to go deaf, you know that, right? I raise a paternal brow. It's worse than brand practice. I think I'll be fine. She gets up and rests her head on my shoulder. Morning, Dad. Ah, that's better. I kiss her on the cheek and she hangs on my neck. Good morning, Asada. I want waffles with blueberries and strawberries and bananas. She pats my cheek, then puts her headphones back on. I grab the Raisin Bran from the cabinet and toss it on the table. She rolls her eyes, too reminiscent of her mother. Please. She knocks the Raisin Bran over, sucking her teeth much like her mother as well. Now, you can listen to your music. I reach the cabinet to begin setting the table. Asada puts a hand over mine as I begin setting the plates down. Dad, why are you taking out 5 plates? I rub my neck confused. Oh, your mother already left for work? I tried my best to get back early, too. I thought she might still be upstairs getting ready. Dad, are you okay? Her tone is absent of all teenage angst and sass. She flicks off her music. Kendall swung by earlier, too, said you were acting a bit strange. She said Mom invited her over for dinner, but how? I'm fine, sweetie. Why? I want to make sure you're okay. You're talking about Mom and all. It's just weird. I'm sure you're fine. Her smile was supposed to be more reassuring. Instead, it seemed forced. Do you need any help with the breakfast? No, Asada, but thank you. Maybe get some of your homework done, okay, sweetie? She smiles for a moment before she finishes setting the table in silence. Not sure if I'm a good parent or if someone has switched the kids with me. Whichever it is, I like the progress. Breakfast went by smoothly. Everyone ate well and left with a kitchen full of dishes. But that's my fault, I suppose. Hazel used to help me clean up the dishes after breakfast. Asada's newfound kindness only extended to setting the table and pouring her little sister a cup of orange juice. I'm not angry over Hazel missing breakfast. I mean, she's rarely ever here for breakfast anymore. I was hoping today would be the day I could say goodbye. There's a satisfaction in parting ways before taking on your day. To say goodbye gives so much relief. Feel your love's lips to let them know you love them before they go. At least let it be clear you said it. To make peace before long days alone. Make sure to get home before 5. Kendall's coming over for dinner. I walk my Cretans out to the driveway. Are you sure that's a good idea, Dad? Asada asks. Why does everyone seem worried? Sure, why not? We haven't had Kendall over for dinner in a while. It'd be nice to catch up. Mason lingers behind us, holding his backpack in one hand and Charlotte's terrarium in the other. He usually checks to ensure his bags are safe before he leaves. He knows damn well if one gets out, I'm gassing the entire house. He takes a glance at Asada and then looks at me. Dad, I'll be honest with you. I'm terrified to get in the car with Asada. She can't drive to save her life. I'm an excellent driver, Asada reacts to his alleged libel. Where's seatbelt? No, you're not. You always speed. Last week she ran a stop sign. Bless his heart. Can Miss Kendall give us a ride, Dad? Sorry, buddy. Shorty left for work. Didn't she? Her car's still in the driveway, though, Mason points. Can I ride with Kendall? Or can you drive? I don't drive anymore, little buddy. You know that. I pat his head. Why don't you drive, Dad? Ayana joins us after having said goodbye to Buster for the 5th time. I think she might have looked him. It's just the face, Martin. Daddy, well, a while ago, Asada interjects, because he doesn't drive. Now get in the car before we take the hot freeway. But right now, she barks. The two of them scamper toward the car and begin buckling themselves in. Thanks again for this. You shouldn't have to. I don't mind that. It's the least I can do. She hugs me. Feel better, okay? Okay? Where's my daughter? I chuckle. When did you drop the whole rebel soldier act? She didn't inherit my sense of humor. Asada must have gotten that from Hazel too. Tough on the outside, so sensitive on the inside. She grimaces, rubbing her temples as she tries to find her words. Dad, are you sure you're alright? You're talking about Mom and... Are you sure you're okay? What's wrong, sweetie? She opens her mouth, but after a moment, she seems as if she decides against speaking. Asada shrugs, flinging her backpack on her shoulder. I don't know, Dad. I wish I did. I guess you're just in one of your moods. She hugs me tightly. I love you. I love you too, you strange little lady. I hug her tight. I wave as she hops in the car. I'm confused as to what she's stammering about, but I'm a sucker for happy family moments. Take care of yourself, sweetie. Remember to get home for dinner with Kendall. Sure thing. See you later, Dad. Asada smiles weakly. Bye, Daddy. I love you. Ayana waves frankly. Bye, Dad. I'll see you later. Mason smiles. I'll see you all later. I wave as the Jeep pulls out of the driveway. Love y'all too. The day without everyone speeds by me. The house is so empty without everyone. I do my best to get around, but end up in my study flipping through family photos. Mason gained 20 pounds in a year. Baby girl is missing teeth in every other day. And Asada's grown so much. Asada's almost a woman now. I can hardly even think about it. My firstborn will be heading off to Morehouse or Georgetown soon. She's almost a grown woman who wants to be treated as such, but can hardly ever keep her damn room clean. She used to be so easy to deal with as a preteen. She used to tell me everything from when she had poop, how her grandmother's moles gave her nightmares, then things with Hazel. She had to grow up too fast. No girl deserves that. The doorbell sounds off and I've pulled away from the kitchen table. Who the hell is bothering me this damn early? I open the door to find Kendall, but it looks as though she hasn't gone to work today. Hey, Martin. Sorry, I'm early. I thought we could catch up before everyone got home. Kendall beams as she steps inside, holding a bottle of sparkling red Moscato champagne. I almost brought a party favor. I also brought a party favor, hoping we could crack into this before the kids get home. You remember my favorite? I grabbed the bottle, looking her over in my hands. You've always been easy to please. I could have brought a 6-pack of beer and you would have been happy. I'm just glad he brought liquor instead of a dessert, and I gave her a nudge as we began walking to the kitchen. Kendall's fingers trails the walls as she walks. Her cocktail dress flows as she takes in our family portraits and the kids' different paintings. 3 kids, and you still manage to keep this place clean by yourself. I'm impressed. She sits on the island. Is this your wedding album? Yeah, it is. I was just giving it a peek before dinner. I picked it up a couple of days ago while cleaning. You mind if I take a peek? Kendall asks as I rinse off a couple of glasses. I don't bother responding. I can already hear the pages turning. Kendall swoons over the old wedding photos as I pour 2 drinks, sitting in the stool next to her. Hazel was so beautiful, Kendall sighs. Beautiful even when she stuffed herself in a dress 2 sizes too small. She just had Asada, didn't she? And nod. Yeah. She refused to admit she gained weight. Woman is stubborn as hell. I toast to Hazel's amazing way to make everything she did look good. Hazel raises her glass. We clink our glasses. Hazel's a force, to be sure. Much better than I could ever deserve. Way more than you deserved. But you can still do great for yourself. She giggles with a blush, covering her mouth, trying to be polite. I apologize, I'm just teasing. No, it's true. Smell softly. Hazel's something else entirely. Yes, she was. Kendall takes a moment, then says abruptly, How are the kids? I look up, not realizing I just ought to stare at my shoes. Oh, Asada plays in a blues band with some of her friends. Baby girl's in ballet, and Mason got in a robotics club. I always catch him digging up bugs in my garden, Kendall sighs. He keeps bringing them home. He's gonna make me go crazy. I rub my temples. I don't even know what he brought home the other day. You know, kids try to hide shit, but you already know they're up to no good. I swear he's making an ark for insects. Noah, the savior of bugs. Do you think there were spiders in the ark? Noah needs to find a new occupation before I call the exterminator to flood his parade of insect merriment. Kendall slaps my arm. You're so mean, she snickers. How's little Ayana doing? Every day she looks more and more like Hazel. Baby girl's a spitting image of her mother. Recently she's been losing teeth like crazy. The tooth fairy's starting to run out of singles. Every last night or night before last, I had to give her a 5 spot and leave a note asking for change. Did she leave you change? Nope. I found the note in the trash. And she told me she couldn't read fairy script. I wrote it in plain English, and she's a great reader. I let out a sigh, and I'm able to hide the smile on my face. I think she's prying them out for cash. Kendall shakes her head. She's too damn smart for her own good. She chuckles. God. I couldn't read fairy script? Where do kids get this stuff? She laughs. I miss this. You know, when we get time to sit down and enjoy each other's company. She rubbed my leg. I miss having Hazel around too. I enjoyed our time together. But you're still in love. Her mood went cold as she hesitated to find her words. Asada and I spoke a bit earlier. A word for you, Martin. I know you love Hazel too, but maybe it's time for you to move on. Things have been rough lately. I just try to enjoy my time with her when I can. I stand up to begin stirring the pot. You two don't need to worry. Kendall shifts in her seat a bit and sets down her glass. She fiddles with an idea, but how she parts her mouth shows she isn't quite sure what to say. Where is Hazel right now, Martin? Kendall's eyes fell to the ground in sadness. Asada thinks she might think Kendall is still. They might think Hazel is still. Kendall, you don't understand. No. Maybe I don't, Martin. But I want to. If you would tell me, I would gladly listen. There's nothing to talk about, Kendall, I said defiantly. Why do you always have to be so avoidant? I just want to help you. It's all I've been doing since Kendall passed. She's working late, Kendall. Since Hazel passed. She's working late, Kendall. Martin, Hazel got a promotion, and that's why she doesn't come often. She doesn't come around because she's busy with work. Martin. Kendall grimaces as she opens the photo back up. The photo album back up. Martin, I've been your friend for a long time. I stood by you. I grieved with you for nights on end. I want to stay with you. But you need to tell me the truth. She turned to the last page. It was my beautiful wife staring at me. Her lips resembled a smirk, but there was no happiness. She lay dressed in her Sunday best. My fingers trembled as I lifted the tattered pamphlet, staring into my vision blurs. Hazel. I exhale, unable to breathe as I look at her lying there dressed in all black, looking as beautiful as the last time we saw each other. Hazel. Where is she, Martin? She's gone. How long has she been gone, Martin? Martin? I refused, biting my lip as tears rushed into my eyes. The night I heard the news of her car accident. Martin, it's been 5 years. We just had Ayana. And then she was gone. I lost it. The psychosomatic defenses came shattering down to the ground all at once. Martin, I'm here. Kendall takes the picture from me and sets it down, closing the album. She wipes his tears from my eyes and kisses me on the forehead between squeezing me. It's okay. And I'm here for you. Kendall hugs me to her chest, filling my ears with promises of better days and a happy family. I only wanted to say goodbye. A curious night at Madame LaLaurie's. The silver Aston Martin DBS Superleggero drove along the long roads of the illustrious homes of Absecon, South Jersey. The neighborhood was filled with homes to make any real estate agent ejaculate in their pants. A single home could pay off a year's wages. The driver was marking down dozens of uncut properties, likely interested in a change of scenery. All he could do was scribble notes at his miniature notepad as he cruised to his true destination. Kenneth Miller was a veteran real estate investor and a construction tycoon in the New Jersey area. He had mastered the art of renovations over the past decade, starting with an online course. The glass ceilings in his life had prevented him from an easy childhood, and Ken refused to spend his adulthood struggling. He joined the generic real estate company a few years before learning and finding good leads while on his own. Kenneth had two fantastic businesses in construction and landscaping, respectively. He wanted to be prosperous, and after he accomplished his multi-million-dollar lifestyle, he wanted power. His hunger was endless, spending years of his life tempting unsuspecting buyers into deals that seemed more lucrative for him than the banks. Kenneth got slowed down by an older couple with their hairs beginning to turn entirely gray. They sat on their porch watching the sunset, their hands tight in the other's palms. The husband noticed Kenneth slowing down first. "Hey there, pal, how are you? Are you lost, buddy?" The husband asked, not noticing the gentleman parking in front of his home. "My name's Kenny Miller. I feel like $1 million, and I hope to make $1 million more by the end of the month." "Uh-huh." The older man rolled his eyes. "Sorry for the corny introduction. You must think I'm pretty full of myself, huh?" Kenny laughed to himself. "I'm happy you aren't here to rob us or anything. I'm happy you made it out the ghetto, Mr. Miller." The wife smiled warmly, waving on. "You can't say things like that anymore, Gloria. We'll get that black revelant and Barack on us. We'll lose everything nowadays." That's fucking funny. That's pretty funny. I forgot I wrote that. ain't none of that, okay? I don't mess with any of that crap. I did make it out the ghetto, thank you. I am lost. I'm looking for the LaLaurie mansion. Kenny humbled himself, stepping out of his car dressed in a cream-colored suit with a powder blue Oxford shirt. I'm Martin. This is my wife, Gloria. I don't think either of us believes you need to be at that mansion. I should just go home now, my friend. We think all lives matter in this town, and that's why no one has moved in that godforsaken place. The woman who owned it was insane. Yeah, I heard rumors she was some racist scientist who did some unconventional experiments or something. Kenny rolled his eyes, uninterested in being dissuaded. Gloria's warm smile faded. My mother told me she was no scientist. She brought you folk, and instead of working or selling them, she performed horrendous experiments. My mother told me stories from when she was a kid. The town could hear screaming from 3 a.m. well to 6 a.m. Eventually, the city had to force her out of the neighborhood. I don't think any sane black man has any business going to that house. Martin shook his head. Look, folks, this isn't about to be some ghost story. I'm an investor, and I want to buy the property. I heard these rumors, did my research, and all that garbage is too long ago to care about. You can point me in the right direction, or not. Kenny laughed it off quickly, beginning to return to his car. You'll feel when you're close. It's up the road for a few more miles after you see the house to stop, and the road continues on. If you have your soul left, you'll feel what we're talking about. Wine relinquished the directions before stirring his iced tea. Can you see if you find the missing children, sweetie? There have been missing children going in the area. We think it's the house, but no one believes us. Gloria's sullen words fell upon deaf ears. What now? You have kids missing too? You'll say anything to prevent a black man from moving into your neighborhood. Look, some missing kids from the 60s aren't going to stop me from getting rich. I wish you luck. Kenneth gets back in his car, but not before hearing Martin's final words. Cats go missing, dogs go missing, and people go missing every week now, it seems. There's something strange going on in that house, friend. By any other house, by all of them. Many of us have been looking to move as far away from here as possible. Kenny didn't respond, hesitating to start his car, fumbling for his keys already in the ignition as if his spirit was telling him to take their advice and leave. Instead, Kenny clutched his wallet, taking a deep breath and thinking about how much money waited from ignoring these old white people. He convinced himself the two must have been crazy or racist to dissuade him, perhaps even both. He drove up the road for a mile before the feeling returned. He rolled down his windows, hoping the fresh air would calm the nerves. Instead, the air felt thick and sticky, like he was driving in a swamp. He choked for air as he rode past acres of open fields and woods. The town is already secluded in the hills of South Jersey. If anyone had gone missing, he wondered how far they could have gotten. Running to the house or from the manor seemed impossible. The air made Kenny suffocate as he got close. He brushed off the thought. Damn, only $50 worth of gas to finish mowing this lawn alone. I've never seen a property so big. I could build so many houses on this land. Kenneth marveled until he saw the beautiful manor behind a wrought iron gate. The oak door was covered in vine moss, as if left for centuries to be overgrown. The house looked freshly painted blue, but the windows had violet condensation and molding visible from the wrought iron gates. The house is valued for millions with the right investor and construction clue. If only they could get past the rusty gate and inside the door. Two pairs had been invited to open a house viewing by a friend of his boss. His boss refused to go because of his friend's weird tendencies towards drug and sex parties. His boss was a married man with 3 kids. It was more than likely his jealous wife controlling his life. Why wouldn't a rational, sane man want to enjoy a night of cocaine and anonymous sex? The LaLaurie Manor was renowned in the neighborhood. Most residents in the Obsequian area believed in a haunted house. The passerby, like Miller, seemed like only the folk who explored the premises. Who is having sex in this house? Kenneth asked himself as he left his car. He searched for other cars to signify a party, but the invitation said it wouldn't be until late at night.
It gave Kenny time to explore the property before any other buyer could set their eyes on the astounding property. He saw a pair of headlights in the distance following his trail. A white unmarked van pulls up to his car with his boss's friend in the passenger seat. An ornery, grizzled older man was driving the van. The friend put up his hands, telling the man to stay in the car until he figured things out. "Donnie, is that you?" Kenny asked, trying to breathe in the thickness in the air. "Hey, bud, what are you doing here so early?" Donald Alvey laughed uneasily, shaking Kenny's hands. "I'm always punctual, bro. How are you?" "Why is your friend mean-mugging me?" Kenny tried to ignore the older man's glare, but he felt uncomfortable so far to go from home.
He's an unfriendly bastard. I'm great, though. Excited for the party tonight. We have some party supplies in the back, but maybe we'll get them out later. How are you, bud? Still want the house? Alfie puts an arm around Kenny, leading him away from the van. The driver pulled off, moving the van to the back of the property, while Alfie led Kenny in the opposite direction. It was apparent something was amiss, but Kenny struggled to identify what it could have been.
"I'm on the fence now. I spoke to some locals about the place, saying the house is bad news." Kenny shared, wondering what Alfie might say.
"Some pretty crazy things happen here, my friend. It's not for the faint of heart or weak-witted. If you're scared, then I'll try to understand." I hate to talk to Roger about how his top guy ran home after a 2-hour drive here, Alfie teases. "Missing kids and people, though? You said you scoped this place out. You couldn't catch something so basic?" "Made us some major oversights," Kenny retorts. Donald withdraws his hand and falls silent as he thinks of a response. He gives Kenny a brief look of contempt before grinning ear to ear. "What's on your mind, Donald?" Kenny enforced. "I think you'll have the time of your life tonight. My group has been looking for someone sharp like you. You're someone who's broken barriers and stays on his toes when so many sheep stay asleep. Hopefully we're not too rowdy of a bunch for you. Our parties can get out of hand if that's why they're trying to scare you away," Donald reassures Kenny. "Oh, flattery will get you everywhere. I'm always down for a good party." "Nah, they didn't say anything about parties at all. They told me about the old owner, a crazy bitch named LaLaurie who experimented on her slaves." Kenny tried to get Alfie to stay focused. "You know, some say her research has led to some extraordinary medical breakthroughs. Without her, who knows where we would be right now?" Alfie wrestles. "She castrated her slaves, tried making half-human, half-animal hybrids, and tortured her female slaves. What type of breakthroughs are you so happy about, bud?" Kenny gulped. He didn't know who Alfie was anymore. Alfie fell silent, unsure if he could fully trust Kenny. Donald led Kenny to the side of the house where a few other cars had parked, hidden by a massive front facade of the home. His boss informed Alfie that the seller wanted to exchange hands within the next month. It had been in the seller's family since Madame LaLaurie got chased out of Upseekin. There were no precise details on the seller's possession of the home. Kenny had bad deals before that lost him thousands early on in life. Before leaving with $1 million nightmare, you need to get all the details on this house. "How old is this property, would you say?" Kenny asked. "It was built in the early 1800s by Frederick LaLaurie II. It was passed down to his daughter and her husband, an abusive lad who owned a few dozen slaves back in the day, but you know, slavery wasn't all that bad. It was more like a corporate office than people would ever think. One guy at the top owns the company and a bunch of workers who make it run. Besides, they use psychological warfare and firing instead of whips and lynches." Kenny mutters, gritting his teeth. "Lynching didn't start until after slavery, my brother." Alfie balls a fist and pats his chest before blowing a kiss with a peace sign. "What the hell are you talking about?" Alfie begins chuckling. "Lighten up, man. Slavery was a long time ago, right? You just said it's still going on." "Yeah, but people choose slavery. They're not working because they need a job. They work because they're afraid of death. Have to take a leap of faith and see what's out in the world. People get in debt because they're afraid of being poor.
These people are cray, brother. LV extends his hand for some dap. Donald, I think I need to pull out of this deal. I wasn't aware you were a racist asshole. Whoa, I'm not racist. You think because I'm white, I'm racist? Prove it. What? How do I do that? LV sucked his teeth and scratched his head. Make sure I get out of this haunted mansion with a good deal. Oh. I had a great proposition for you. See, my friends and me still like using this house. Even if you did have a buyer, we're hoping we would find some cool people to overlook what we've been working on downstairs. We can make sure you get the deal of a lifetime. The inside was maintained in an authentic, but I need you because you do field work. So I need to replace the siding, painting, windows, some doors. That's hundreds of hours of labor there. And then I need the yard properly maintained. Wait, you didn't call me out here to buy the house? You want me to be your field nigger? Kenny clenches his fist. Nah, you don't have to work yourself. You could be a supervisor or managerial type. You need a few dozen people working for you to make it all nice. Maybe a crew of 25 to 30 would suffice. Then you could be their leader. I'll pay you top dollar and you can pay them what you please from your earnings. Donald offers. I'm about to give a down payment of $300,000 and take the house tonight. You all can have your last party, and then we part ways, my guy. Kenny reaches for his checkbook. Whoa, Ken, my friend, I'm trying to put money in your pocket. Consider it reparations. Alfie tries to extend his hand. Help me manage the property. We can make the house great again, bud. Look, pal, any work I do for myself. You can't hire me because I'm not offering to work for you. I want to buy a house. I have no interest in being your slave. You asked how slavery was a choice, now you see why. Don raises his hand as if he had imparted sage wisdom upon Ken. Kenny bites his thumb, trying to put it all together. His shoulders relaxed as he mulled over Donald's words carefully. Ken let out a sigh, letting his guard down entirely. Donald continued explaining his perspective. You see, my friend, you're like me. You want to be the owner. You want to be a boss. You want liberty and your rights more than you want money. That's why we know you'll be successful. I know some of you people would have jumped at that deal as long as I offered you free room and board. You're a different type entirely. You're an entity, not a mere man. You're one of us. Donald touched him lightly. One of whom exactly? One of the enlightened. And a few decision makers left on this planet. One of the few of us who are thinking for ourselves and doing what is best for ourselves. Not lost in the bewildered herd. No one's slave and no one rules over you. No one but God himself. Ken nodded proudly. Yeah, God is cool. I would be nowhere without God. He holds his chest and raises 2 fingers to the sky. Well, do we have a deal? Ken asks, finally retrieving his wallet. I don't know. We need this property for the overall dream. We want to maintain the integrity of the home. We were hoping you would want to work the property. Alfie lets out a sigh, beginning to pace in short steps. You're kidding. We discussed me buying this house for weeks now. I'm ready to buy it and get it to reconstruction. I have big plans for this place. Ken placed his hand on the side of the door and took a deep breath, stepping inside. The old building filled Ken's nostrils with an unfamiliar smell, far worse than roadkill. He began coughing profusely to escape the vile odor of rotting meat. It permeated the entire house like perfume for hyenas and vultures, as if a butcher had turned off his freezer and given up on letting the meat go to waste. What is it? Alfie asked, taking in a deep breath. It smells rank, bro. How are you going to have an open house here? How would you sell this house to anyone? Did you keep the bodies all year? Have you ever had the house exhumed or checked inside the walls? No house should ever smell this way. Ken fought to get back outside, forcing the door open and taking a deep breath. Donald took a deep breath, scratching the back of his neck. I'll have to ask Andy what that smell is supposed to be. It usually doesn't smell so bad. I've never smelled something like that before, at all. I thought this place got abandoned, Ken panted, trying to catch his breath as he leaned against the home. Yeah. Donald was stunned as he watched the home's third story. Hey, Ken, I think your shoe's untied. You should check on it, Donald said quickly, attempting to put himself in the way of Ken's line of vision. A naked boy had climbed out the window. The boy's frail pink body clung desperately toward a rope made of curtains, attempting to climb down to safety. His body was decorated in welts and bruises, his anus scabbed from bleeding. The boy couldn't have been older than 7 years old. My shoe is fine. What is wrong with you? Are you sure, man? What type of laces are those? I need to get some. Kenny tries to keep Ken's focus until a loud shriek broke through the night sky. Ken stood at attention, only seeing the curtain hanging from the window before recalling what the elderly couple had told him. Was that a ghost? Yes. This place looks haunted, but you could have... You could get someone for that. I'll have Andy check out the smells and the ghost. Donald laughed nervously before a look of contempt had crossed his face. What's wrong? Didn't realize how bad of a condition this house is nowadays. I'll give you $250,000 for the house. Between the shrieking ghost and the rotting smell of rotting meat, entire sections must rebuild. It would cost me more to fix up. Donald's face twisted in anger. I need a drink, how about you? I got this amazing tequila that would put hair in your chest. What's wrong with you? Ken asked, following Donald along the side of the house to his shed. Things don't usually go this way, Donald confessed. You're hiding something. It says all over your face. What is that, the septic tank? You have plumbing issues? Does this place not have water heater or some old-ass electrical system? Ken began getting a headache. Look, I've seen enough of the house. I think I'll have to pass on this deal. No! Donald growled, grabbing Ken's arms as he tried to leave, nearly throwing him into the side of the house. But Ken slipped out of his grip, almost tossing Donald out of his shoes. What the hell is wrong with you, man? Ken asked, bewildered, backing up slowly. Donald's chest rose and fell as a man possessed. He stared at Ken, who was beginning to return to the same feeling of terror. Donald took a deep breath, relieved how one-tracked Ken's mind had been. He startled, chuckling hysterically. Ken hadn't seen anything and wasn't aware of the boy's dead body bleeding out in the garden nearby. The shrubbery and roses hid the boy and the posies as Donald backed away, holding his hands up. Let's just have a drink. Ken rolled his eyes. Donald's eyes widened as he saw the boy attempting to crawl out of the bushes. The boy's neck has broken, but he pulls his pale body towards Ken. Donald nodded, backing up more, hoping Ken would follow. Andy had arrived holding a metal shovel with a look of dismay on his face. Before he could announce himself, he noticed Donald's face. What the hell is wrong with you? Is there someone behind me? Ken began to turn around. No, man, no, it's all good. We're going to have a drink. I was just admiring the garden. Donald felt defeated as he said garden, unable to stop Ken from turning about face. Donald was ready to quit until Andy arrived with a metal spade, driving between the boy's lumbar and thorax, and then dragged the body away into the garden. Ken turned around, seeing nothing but Andy in the garden, toiling away with his shovel. What do you need me if you have him? It looks like he does a great work if he's been maintaining the garden well. Can I take a look? No one said anything about a garden. What do you fertilize it with? Ken smiled brightly, calmed by the symphony of colors in the flowers. No. Andy needs to focus. He's not doing a good job, as I thought he would. I don't want him to disturb us. Andy handles my needs around the house, but doesn't have your expertise. He's eager to work, but his quality has fallen off. Donald criticizes loud enough for Andy to hear. Ken looked at the grizzled elderly man over. A thin, wiry build dressed as a backwoods lumberjack, plaid and denim jeans. He had a hunting knife attached to his waist and a second in his leather boots. His holster showed he had a firearm. Instead, he had the shovel and a scowl. Andy's expression twisted into a bowling raise as he began digging the shallow grave, far fiercer, cursing under his breath. Where did you find him? Ken always admires the blue-collar man who rose up and slept with his sweat on his brow. Ex-con, Donald muttered. Why keep company like that? Ken was shocked. Didn't expect your kind to be so judgmental about convicts. He went to jail for some services I needed. For the time being, yes, he's going to be my gardener. Talk to that guy about the smell or else I'm gone. I can't drink and drive in this town. Ken rubbed his neck. You know what, my brother? That was the best idea you had all day. Donald slapped Ken on the shoulder. After this drink, don't worry about driving. The party will start soon. We'll have plenty of viewers for the house and people looking to network with a man of your stature. You're going to be my guest of honor. Come on, Ken. Have a drink. You lay on the flattery, Donald. Ken shook his head, beginning to feel queasy from the pitch. Let's have a drink or two and then we can discuss some figures. I wanted to hear why you want this place so badly. You keep persisting and buying. I never imagined you would be so determined. Donald smirked as he led Ken to the shed where there was a crystal skull bottle. Well, I want to rewrite the history of this home. I feel we can reclaim it like we did in the N-word. This country has such a sordid history. This woman is one of the worst demons walking on this earth. Call a priest, get my crew working, call in a team of plumbers and electricians, that I could tear down this home and rebuild most of the property in a small community. I flirted with the idea of opening a home for at-risk children, but after seeing how much land this property sits, you know how many houses I would build here? And these people only built one? Sometimes the greed of your ancestors is beyond my understanding, bro. You have big dreams, Ken. Can you bankroll all that? Donald poured the drinks as he grits his teeth. Yes, I can, Ken said, taking his drink in his hand and seeing the pickled worm on the bottom of his glass. I think I will take this house. They say the gusano represents good fortune and strength to whoever has it in their glass. You don't say. Donald tried to force a smile as he poured his glass. Seems like a good day overall. I want to make a toast to this beautiful property, beautiful neighborhood, and to an end to the LaLaurie legacy once and for all. Ken raised his glass to meet Donald's. Salud. Donald grinned as Ken drank his entire glass before Donald couldn't even take a sip. You must have been drinking this already. This tequila is strong. What type of tequila is this, man? Ken staggered, looking for a chair. Donald fumbled around on the floor before slowly rising to his knees. As Donald stood up, he smiled with restored confidence. Ken's eyes rolled to the back of his head, and he fell straight back on the hardwood floor. Donald stepped over Ken, wanting to kick the arrogant bastard, but stormed up to Andy, letting his charming demeanor fade away. What the hell is going on here? Donald barked. I can explain, Andy groaned. Explain. Explain to me why some naked boy fell 3 stories out the window. Explain to me why this place smells like a morgue. You risked letting that nigger in on everything. You said you had everything under control. Do you know what happens if that nigger makes it back home? Everything he's going to expect to take my great-grandma's house, and he's going to send an inspector to this fucking place. Man, you blue bloods shoot, you got some hot blood after all. Andy smirked, leaning his shovel on the kid's grave. You smug son of a bitch. Do you think it's funny? You think it would be funny if your parole officer finds out how many kids are locked in that basement? It's your house, boy. Andy rolled his eyes. I can go back to prison and survive another 10 years or so. Will you make it past the first few nights of some chomo and general population? You threatening me? Donald laughed. I ain't threatening nothing. What I'm saying is, you need to kill that darky before he gets mad. Did you use your roofie tequila in him? He's a pretty big guy. Not those little girls and boys you like drinking with, Donald, buddy. What I'm saying is, sounds like we got a similar interest. He is my best friend's employee. He can't end up dead tonight. Blair would be pissed off if he disappeared, Don explained. What about going missing? Maybe some cop pulled him over. Maybe some local shout him because some black guy was on their lawn. Who knows? But if he goes missing for a while, then winds up dead miles from here, you can cry the whole time saying you're looking for him, right? And it's just, he hasn't seen anything yet. We don't need to do any of that. Let's put him back in his car. Drive back to the main road and leave him there. Let him wake up and try to piece things together. He'll call me and I'll tell him he never made it to the house. We sold it to someone else. Boy, you cleverer than the devil himself. Andy slapped his knee. I might just be the devil himself. Let's get out of here now. Donald rolled up his sleeves, walking back to where he left Ken. Big ass bastard, Andy said, trying to lift Ken's dead weight. It'll be easier to bury him. You're saying we have to get this big bastard from the property, then try moving his unconscious body in full view of other people? Man, we need to drive 2 freaking cars. This won't work. Just put your damn back into it. Donald begins dragging Ken by the collar and shoulder, pulling him across the lawn a few yards before breathing. Why aren't you helping me? Andy sighed, grabbing Ken by the ankles as the two heaved him several more yards before dropping him to take a break. God damn, this is a big boy. Andy sat on the grass, wiping his brow. Yeah, my friend said he was a bodybuilder or some type of athlete. Donald falls over, panting, looking at the sky. Do we still have our party favors? Andy grimaced. Come on, man. You said you had it handled. Donald nearly screams. I have mine under control. I told you needed someone to handle these kids once they arrived. I said it was too many loose ends and it wouldn't work. I guess what else didn't work? Your idea. Andy spat. We have 10 dead kids and 5 dead women. The 10-year-olds and teenagers are alive, but barely. No one fed them for how long? You forget people need to eat? Got a lot of folks down there, Donnie. I only needed them for 1 or 2 nights. Why would I bother feeding them? Donald sucked his teeth. You blue bloods are different. Our cons were bad. Don't matter none. We'll be serving the rest of our lives in prison. They catch us. So there's one way we don't get caught. Burn this house down. Put this bastard in the fire. I go to Brazil. You go north to Canada. I have a buddy who does birth certificates and IDs. You are not burning my great Grammy's house down. I have my party tonight, and I will enjoy myself. And whatever concubine is left, did you get it? Now take his keys and drive up to the highway, park it, move him in the driver's seat, or drag him to the passenger side. Leave him. I'll call his boss and have him fired. I'll tell them how late and unprofessional he had been. He'll be too busy trying to pick up his life to come after us. I got this under control. Donald fumed as he had done it 100 times before tonight. Buddy, you got a basement full of dead kids and women. Now you got this darky. You're going to prison. We need to figure out how to get out of this mess. Andy would have ripped out his hair if he had any. Do you know what? You run away. Do with him whatever you want. I'm staying and having my party. If you want to leave the country so bad, so be it. I'm Donald Frederick Elfie. Every cop, court, judge, and person will take my word over this guy. Now get out of my face, Andy. Alfie shouts in Danny's face, spitting in the older man's face. I should probably do a little different. Hey, if that's how it's gonna be, what's stopping me from going to the cops? Andy snorted. I'll have your daughter killed. I'll burn your house down with your family inside of it. Then you have to put it in prison for arson. Like, come on now. You better realize who you're messing with, Andrew. Donald glares at Con with that eye. You've been doing this to people for a while, huh? Andy grinned in ear. We've been in this business for centuries. Slavery is our legacy, and no one will take it from me. Especially not some white trash and bred like you. Donald gleamed proudly. Andy smiled faded. You get my money. Donald smiled. And that's how the world keeps spinning. Now go do my bidding.
Get rid of this guy and make it look like an accident. If you don't have to kill him, don't. What I've planned for him is much worse than death. Yes, sir, Satan, sir. Andy mocked. It's Lord, Satan, to you. Donald was dead serious as he dismissed Andy. Andy cursed more as he tried lifting Ken into the backseat of the car. He took a while to catch his breath, finally able to drag him from the other side. Andy planned to leave the car engine running and then head down to the border and the next train smoking south to the same evening. He would disappear into the sunset and leave Donald to deal with the mess he had created. If anyone asked, he was the only gardener after putting his life on the line for Donald, doing everything but selling his soul. Andy got into the car and put it in drive, leaving to start his new life. Andy drove down the long country road toward the small town of Absecon from its outskirts. The elderly couple sat on their porch watching as the silver Aston Martin DBS came driving up the street. The wife covered his mouth as Andy gave them a smile and wave as he passed home. The husband spotted the boy knocked down in the back seat. He remembered him coming alone and hadn't seen too many cars coming up the road. If he was only going to an open house, there was no need for such a rugged figure to be driving his car. Gloria clung to her cross, vowing to call the cops, but Martin advised against it. He knew Andy would lie and say it was his car. The man nearly his age was driving it as if he had bought it in cash. Judging by the torn and faded plate man, the man hadn't come for much money. He didn't expect the young cop to see through the ruse. I'm telling you, Martin, I'm calling them. I memorized the license plate. I memorized it, Gloria parroted. Good God, Gloria. You'll get that boy locked up. I need you to call the cops, but send them to the house. Send them up the road to investigate what's going up there. I'll go after the car. Martin stood up, holding his lord back. Martin, you're retired. Sit down. Let the real police handle it. How far do you think that car can go before you get off the phone with the cops? Martin asked, putting on his 1960s Yankee jacket and shuffling to the stairs of the patio.
Martin, you're going after that car, aren't you? Gloria held her heart, holding out the license plate number. I wanted to stay up and make sure that boy made it home safe. I can't go to sleep ignoring it. Not sure I would live much longer if I ignored it. Whatever that man is doing with that boy's car is plain wrong.
Martin shook his head, going to his Plymouth Colt and headed up the road after the pair at top speed. Andy drove for 20 minutes before he was optimistic the car behind his tail meant business. It wasn't a cop, though. He looked in the rear view to find a man older than him chasing a beat-up old car after them. Andy smirked, thinking at least the car was younger than him. He dropped the convertible type and joined the air, and figured it would be easier to toss the body aside. He had decided to keep the car as long as possible and ditch it if a cop started tailing him. The septuagenarian approach didn't seem much like a threat.
He's probably a senile old man, too old to be on the road, and he judged by how fast the man was driving. Andy began to slow down, knowing the man wouldn't want to crash into such a nice car. As he began to slow down, the vehicle picked up speed, cutting off ahead of him. Andy slammed on the brakes, hopping out of the vehicle angrier than a rattlesnake. Andy marched up to Martin's car, waving his hands. Martin spun the car around, shifting the park as he revved his engine. You think I'm scared of you, you old fart? Get out of your damn car and explain what you think you're doing interrupting my Sunday drive, Andy barked out. Martin revved the engine one more time as if he would run Andy over, but his engine cut off. He reached into his glove compartment, gripping his M18 service pistol, waiting for Andy to come closer. You heard me, old man? What the hell are you doing? Andy shouted as he began banging on the car's passenger side door. Martin placed his hand to his ear. Roll down your window, you stupid old man. I reckon I should open the window now. Martin shot back as if he had a touch of dementia. Yes, open the damn window and give me your insurance information. I think I did slip a disc messing around with you. Andy barked, banging on the window again. The glass shattered instantly and Andy backed off quickly, checking his hands for blood and glass. He felt deep pain with a warm ooze of blood, but his fingers were clear. Martin exited the driver's side door and held his pistol at Andy. "You bastard! What have you done to me?" Andy screamed. "I shot you, gorilla." Martin grits his teeth, cocking his eye, ready to fire another shot through Andy's throat if he tried to move, and his chest if he tried to attack. "Whoa now, Grandpa. Whoa there, brother. Hey, I'm one of you, right? White power, brother." Andy held out the Nazi salute, trying to garner favor. "My last name is Schultz." Martin gripped his pistol tighter. "Whoa, man. Whoa there, Mr. Schultz. That was a long time ago, and I wasn't even around for whatever y'all went through. I'm just trying to get me home. We all got families, right?" "Including the boy in the back seat." "Boy?" Andy looked back at the Aston Martin. "That's a grown-ass. I mean, it's one of my drinking buddies. He stopped by for some drinks. We played some cards, but he couldn't hold his liquor, you see. We've been playing all day. Idiot bet his fancy car, so I did him a favor and won it off some. I'm dropping him off home, then heading off." Martin shot Andy straight through the stomach, dropping him doubled over in pain. Martin walked up to the car to check on Kenneth. He checked his wrist and neck, quickly finding his pulse and deeming him unconscious. Martin opened his eyelids, but had no flashlight to check for a reaction. As he turned around, he barely evaded Andy's knife, getting stabbed right in the shoulder before shooting Andy in the kneecap. "Oh, God!" Martin winced as he stumbled back against the Aston Martin, falling to the passenger seat on top of Kenneth. "You should have killed me, old man," Andy roared as he got back to his feet, lipping one leg to the other as he gripped Martin's ankle, yanking him from the car. Martin held on to Kenneth for dear life, pulling the young man up before Martin's head hit the ground. He saw Ken take a deep yawn as his eyes blinked open. Martin blacked out for a moment, using all his remaining focus to grip his gun as Andy began wailing on him. Each punch drove Martin's skull against the road, but he held on to his gun until his last breath. "You should have just given me your insurance information, old man," Andy cheered for himself, raising his fist into the air. A size 12 alligator shoe nailed Andy square in the nose and kicked him under the chin. Martin sat up, pistol whooping Andy on the side of his head, knocking Andy out. Martin fell back to the ground, stared at the sky, driving to catch his breath. Ken pulled himself up to his feet, groggy but functional. His head ached and his body felt sore, but he powered through the pain with his eyes set on Andy. Ken dropped to his knee, checking on Martin's broken nose and bleeding shoulder, but he seemed no worse for wear. Andy lay motionless on the side of the road, his butt proudly in the air as he rested his chin on the highway. He appeared to be out cold, but neither man took a chance on checking it out or getting close. "What the hell is happening? What are you two doing to me?" Kenneth looked around, no longer seeing the house or shed, but only the same highway he had passed less than an hour ago. "I saw him driving up the road in your car, so I followed after to stop him." Martin sat himself up against the side of the car. "Why didn't you call the cops?" "You were unconscious. Looked like this pecker would probably toss your body aside and steal your car. He gave me some bullshit story about winning in a poker game. He didn't strike me as a gambling type, but he struck me as a bald-faced liar." Martin explained himself and then waited Ken to tell him how he got knocked out in the back seat. "Last thing I remember, I was taking a shot of tequila with Donald Outfee. Then I woke up here. We were discussing a final price so I could slip out before his party tonight. I got bad vibes from the house. It smelled like rotten bodies and was completely unkept. This guy didn't seem like a gardener," Kenneth confessed. "You said Outfee?" "LaLaurie's daughter married an Outfee. That boy must have been their family. Gloria's been used to say you could smell a stench like a slaughterhouse this time of year in October. Kids and girls get missing, then the stench." Martin began putting it together. "He asked me to be a slave." Ken clenched his fist. "I don't know what you're gonna do from here, boy. I'm calling the cops on our friend here. I suggest you get a head start and get long gone," Martin informed him. "I'll talk to the cops with you and tell my side of the story," Ken assures. "You forget what type of world we live in, boy. Cops see you with two bloodied white men, they'll shoot on the spot. You need to get out of here. I'll tell them everything. I'll have them investigate the house and have this man thrown in prison. You need to get out of here and go home," Martin ordered, giving Ken the keys to his car. "You want me to leave you with him here so I can run away from the cops? I haven't even done anything. You two were shooting apparently and stabbing. All I wanted to do was buy a damn house today," Ken cried out at the injustice. "Do you want to complain about it in the middle of the road or make it home alive to press charges? The streets aren't a courtroom," Martin pressed. "You think because you're some white man the cops are magically going to think this is your car? I'm former Inspector Martin Schultz of the North Police Department. I worked down this way for a few years before retirement. The men down here know me and respect me. I'm retired, but I still know everyone in the precinct. I can get you justice on the inside, but you need to make it home first. You think I can ignore that this bastard poisoning me and leaving me to die? Did I tell you that he brought me out here to ask me to be his slave? There's something crazy about that house. Why is Daryl Omar still running around if he can got swing with the police?" Martin nodded. "Are you going to kill him?" "I don't know." "Well, your chances of avoiding prison increase if you don't kill him. I'll explain everything to the police when they arrive. I don't suggest you try talking to them. Try to get away and talk about it in court after you talk to your lawyer," Martin advised. "What are you saying, old man?" Ken clutched the car keys. "I'm saying I'll tell the cops everything. Real estate investors, some city boy tried to murder and kidnap you, and you went back to blow the lid on the LaLaurie Manor case. Daryl Omar and this degenerate are guilty. I won't tell them your skin color. I'll tell them what you're wearing." Martin fills in the story for Ken. "You know I was returning to the manor to settle things? I just hope you know how to use one of these. You aren't one of them black boys afraid of fighting, right?" Martin holds out his gun. "I'll tell them you're my nephew. I'll let you borrow my car and gun." Martin nods, convincing him. "How far away are we?" Ken asks, rushing into the car. "We didn't get but 20 minutes away before you woke up. If you visit your friend, stop him from torturing this town." Martin wipes a tear, finally feeling fulfilled after decades on the force, overseeing injustice and brutality. It gave his heart peace, knowing he helped when it mattered, with or without a badge. Kenneth read up the Colt, then bolted off toward the manor to confront Daryl Omar. As he pulled off, Martin walked over to Andy. Martin stepped over Andy's shoulder, holding the man's arm in the air before using a quick jolt of his hips to snap the shoulder out of its socket like a toy. He then performed the same technique on Andy's second shoulder. Then Martin sat on the square of Andy's back, holding his head back as he waited for the police in a camel clutch. "What the hell is going on in this house?" Martin demanded. "Kids, women, selling them to the local politicians and bankers." Andy strained, trying to hold it inside to protect his freedom at all costs of his life. "You're lying. What politicians?" Martin groaned. "Democrats, Dixiecrats. Some get sent out to California or private islands. LaLaurie's house is only one of the houses." Andy groaned, nearly in tears, as Martin pulled his dislocated shoulders onto his bony knees. "I don't know names, man. I went in for kidnapping. I just picked them off the streets and bring them here. It's Donald. Donald's the mastermind. The drugs, the human trafficking, and prison. It's Donald. His friends and their parents. They all been doing it for decades, man. I only did a couple of jobs with them. Let me go. I didn't do nothing compared to them. You're going to prison. Is there any evidence in the house? Come on, man. I'm squealing like a pig. I'll tell you everything. Just don't put me back in prison. Please, I'm too old. I'll die in there. Maybe we should give you back to Donald and let him deal with you." Martin released Andy, backing away slowly as the lights began to pull up. Andy curled in a ball of pain, weeping. "Take me to prison. Take me to jail. Don't make me go back to that house. I'd rather die in jail than go back to that house." What the hell has been happening in that house? For how long? Martin held his heart as he caught his breath. A few squad cars arrived to protect their former leader, only to find the horrific scene and trail of blood on the highway. The police came from the opposite direction from Town Hall. The two never crossed paths. Martin had gotten his story straight about how he would deal with the situation. He lifted his hands in the air and then kneeled on his knees. The sergeant walked up to Martin, taking a knee by his side, whispering, "What the hell happened here, Marty? Come on, buddy, who's this dirtbag?" "I want to talk to my lawyer." Martin bowed his head in shame. "What?" The sergeant stepped back aghast, turning his head away to act as if he hadn't heard or seen anything. "I want to talk to my lawyer," Martin shouted after him. "No, go home, Marty, you're drunk. We'll forget about it and leave this scumbag. Go home." The sergeant noticed the car and then looked back at Martin. "I want to talk to my lawyer," Martin cried out. "I'm stone sober, Gilbert. I'm stone sober. I need to talk to Jack Olson. Call my lawyer, Gilbert." "Arrest former Instructor Schultz. Take him into custody. Call Olson and give them a private room with cameras and audio." Sergeant Gilbert commanded, bellowing on sobs. "Take these fuckers away and make a crime scene. We gotta work tonight, boys."
As Martin got processed, Ken arrived at the LaLaurie Manor, migrated to Upstate, New Jersey upon acres of land, one of the plantation lands in the Northeast. Kenneth held the gun in his hand, ready to rush straight into Donald, but he heard the music playing. Cars parked in the cornfields and all over the property, inching toward the house. Donald didn't notice getting accosted by a pair from the local police department. Kenneth wanted to march straight up and tell him all the theories about what happened with the property, and how Donald tried to have him kidnapped, but he decided against it. Kenneth took the opportunity to bypass all the drama by looking behind the cars. Looking behind the row of luxury cars toward the shadows cast upon the haunted manor. The orange-hued hollow autumn night shone darkness upon the ground, consuming Kenneth as he chased Andy's former trail around the back of the house. Under the blood moon, Kenneth began running out of sight. Hearing more cop cars coming from the distance, he found a cellar, finding it easier to search the house than explain its presence. Kenneth found the cellar unlocked with the chain tied around, as if Andy expected to have come back. He had used all his strength to untie the awkward arrangement. As he strained, he heard the music growing louder. It barely had the sound of shrieking as one of the cops tried, calling out to their partner for help. Kenneth leaned around the outside of the house, watching as the partygoers surrounded the police, ripping off their clothes and tearing off their equipment. One of the Blue Bloods took the keys from the cop car and ran off to move it before the cops reached the property. Kenneth rushed back to the cellar, tearing it open and sliding inside under the cover of the noise. The sirens deafened the loud music, but did nothing for the pitch-black cellar. A stone trail led to a horrendous stench of rotting corpses with a dimly lit room at the back. Kenneth rolled his eyes as he grabbed his cell phone, using the flashlight to guide his pathway. The tunnel twisted into different underground paths and was driven only by the stench as he forced his way inside. Kenneth began recording with the cell phone. "This is Kenneth Miller, reporting from the LaLaurie Manor in Upstate, New Jersey. I've been the victim of being kidnapped, likely drugged, and racism. The owner is hiding something here, and I'm here to blow the lid off this kettle. There's a terrible smell down here of rotting bodies, or a butcher shop. I don't know what I'll find, and honestly, I have no interest in finding it. It only seems right." Kenneth arose at the source of the odor, breaking into tears, seeing an image akin to Auschwitz. There were bloodied bodies packed into cages, living on top of each other. The living were forced into corners to avoid touching the piles of captive bodies with bites taken from them. The children were skinny with the ribs showing. The adults were in a separate cage, beginning to beg for help. The sound of the screaming and shrieking silenced the music and sirens. Kenneth held out his phone to record the horrific scene before his eyes. He felt utterly desensitized, no longer able to smell, and unfazed by the sight before his eyes. He walked past the cages, counting hundreds of people, alive or dead, stuffed in small cages and forced to stand or kneel until used. They were all naked or nearly naked, with welts across their body, their privates bloodied or branded. Children, teens, adults,
Men, children, and women are locked in cages, forced against their will, crying to Kenneth for help. I can't find the key, Kenneth said in defeat, looking around the torture devices occupying the majority of the space in the room. Help us! Help us! There was banging and crying in different dialects, languages, and tones. I don't know how. Kenneth couldn't breathe, terrified by the screaming, believing he would end up in a cage with them or be eaten alive. He saw the dead bodies with bites and tears littering their corpses. Kenneth recorded them all until he realized the recording was useless unless he made it out alive. He wasn't any use to anyone unless he could open the cages and release these people. Kenny cried, weeping, and barely able to move as the mortifying image paralyzed his body. He shuffled his feet, forcing himself to function through the trauma. His spirit forced his vessel to move despite the severe trauma weighing down his body. His soul fought for the lives of all the people in the room. The agape passion bursting from him brought him to a hanger on the wall with various keys, bloodied among the torture devices at first. He closed his eyes, but he knew he had to sift through them carefully to avoid losing a hand or catching a disease from the disturbing scene. Kenneth found 5 keys for each of the giant cells. A man darted a hand out to Kenneth, trying to grab him. Kenneth dropped back, knocking on the torture devices to the floor. He clung to the keys in his hands as his heart raced. The man cried, his tanned face disfigured as if beaten. Who are you? Who are you? Help us! How? Who are you? The man cried, screaming in horror at Ken. That's when Kenneth began to realize these people had so much more to fear than he would ever have in his life. I'm Kenneth Miller. I wanted to buy this house, but now I think we need to burn it down. Kenneth reached his hand back out with the keys. Yes, burn it down. The man snatched the keys from Kenneth, rushed to the cage door and climbed over the dead bodies and released the cage. Burn it down, chants filled the torture chamber up the hallway. Kenneth fled as filming the cage doors opening and the room filled with life. The hundreds remaining knocked over the equipment, banged against the walls in Astoria, never expecting to feel freedom again. Kenneth had already been running back through the tunnels the way he came. He stopped when he heard the muffled screams of the 2 police, a man and woman stripped naked with sex toys stuffed in every orifice. A group of posh people dressed in designer dresses and suits laughed about their deeds, carrying the cops on 2 spit roasts until they saw Kenneth. That's the sick shit you people into? Kenneth cursed, holding up his fist, ready to fight for his life to prevent the same fate. Calm down, buddy. You're the guest of honor. I was hoping you would come back. Andy was driving you home. Let's go upstairs, pal. Donald stepped before the group, extending his hand. Who are those 2? Kenneth stepped back. Fuck the police coming straight from the underground. Donald went to a b-boy stance as his friends began laughing. We're about to get down with blue lives for a bit. Do you want to turn on the train, brother? Woo woo. I'll let you take the girl first. You have the boy pick second. He's mine. Donald was drunk, near delirium, as he tried to wrap an arm around Kenneth's shoulder. Kenneth ducked the grip, pivoting off his back foot, slamming a right cross into Donald's face, breaking his nose on contact. Kenneth drove his fist through Donald's face, tackling him to the wall, getting ready to slam his head against the skull, until he recalled Martin's words. Kenneth let out a scream, letting him drop where he stood. You're mad at me, pal? Donald laughed. You can have the guy first if you want. Don't miss out. Come on, Ken, relax. A woman in the group placed a hand on his shoulder. Let them be. Why don't we go talk in private? Kenneth was caught off guard, stifled from his anger for a moment. He took in the beautiful news reporter he caught glimpses of on the evening news. She smelled in perfume of weed and perfume, wearing an intoxicating dress, matching his suit perfectly. She rubbed Ken's chin, pulling him closer to kiss him. Bow chicka wow wow, Donald sang, holding his broken nose from the floor. You're all going to hell. Kenneth ripped away, ready to run for the cellar doors. Come on, Kenneth.
If you go there, the cops will shoot your black ass dead. Come and party with us. Have another drink and let Sandra have some fun with you. Donald's friends helped him to his feet. Kenneth turned quickly, roundhouse kicking Donald into the head and knocking the man unconscious. The group dropped the cops, beginning to attack Kenneth. They leaped on Kenneth, holding down his throat and arms, clawing off his clothes. The Blue Bloods consumed their frenzy over the handsome black man's flesh, ignoring the stampede approaching from the tunnels. Kenneth wrestled and wrangled himself free from the full guard back to his feet. He pulled himself through the hallways. They leapt on his back, holding onto his arms and legs. Kenneth dragged their bodies along, fighting for his life to reach the surface again. Burn it down! Burn it down! The stampede chanted as they poured into the tunnel. Many hadn't seen in years with their own eyes. Poured into the tunnels many hadn't seen in years with their own eyes. The mob raised Ken into the air, unable to carry his own body. He saw the caged people ripping the Blue Bloods apart from their limbs. A number were fighting over Donald's body, beginning to relieve their rage in unspeakable ways, as if the man was nothing but a stuffed dog, finding their redemption from years of enslavement. Children led Kenneth outside through the tunnels. Kenneth found his way to his feet once they reached the door. He tackled into the cellar doors as a few good times before the doors popped open. The mob took the door, desperately pounding before the rush of cool air brushed over them. Kenneth got lifted once more by the children of the cages to fresh air. The children ran outside naked, crying, hopping about, stretching their legs, and tasting air, believing their lives were forsaken. The field was packed with the police from Upseekin, Pleasantville, Atlantic City, and Brigantine. Each municipality had been a victim of the trafficking for decades. Each felt the need to arrive, but was quickly outnumbered by the people pouring up from the cellars. The police promptly acted as a barricade between the battered and abused bodies and the addicts who oppressed them. The police removed themselves and, willing to risk their lives, continued protecting the perverted, prosperous people, punishing the poor. The cops stepped away, turning their backs to the scene as a massacre ensued, with hundreds of caged folks preying upon the drunk and high partygoers. Donald's body was brought from the cellar, beaten, hysterical, and crying profusely from the pain of being raped. The two cops nestled outside, quickly running to the department chief from Upseekin and the sergeant, frantically attempting to report everything to the head of policy, but unable to stop their tears. Kenneth hobbled into the shadows, reaching the Plymouth Colt, and falling into tears in the driver's seat. He was first to pull off. Ken was rushing his way back to the house of an elderly couple. He owed them his life. When he arrived to drop off his car, LaLaurie sat at the porch with Martin. Martin sat patched up with his lawyer and asked him question after question. Kenneth shouldered Aston Martin DPS Super Leggera sat in the driveway. The police department has set up checkpoints around the area, preventing any escape from the LaLaurie mansion. Kenneth! Gloria cried out, "Oh, thank you, Lord. Thank you, dear God, for this boy's safe return. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness." "Hey, Ken. Good to see you alive, friend." Martin winked as he tossed the boy his car keys. "You have a lot of explaining to do. But you have the money to afford to explain." Jock Olson was the first to approach Kenneth. "I hope you don't mind. I told Mr. Olson you needed a lawyer to fight a lawsuit against one Donald Outby, the rightful owner of the manor." Martin forced himself to stand at his feet out of respect. "I need to sleep." Kenneth toppled over from exhaustion onto the porch, sitting on the stairs as he tried to catch his breath. "I'll make up the guest room for you and let you rest. I made a delicious brisket tonight. You'll love it," Gloria clapped. "I don't want to intrude, Miss Gloria. I just need to catch my breath before hitting the road," Kenneth protested. "She's done made up her mind, friend. Stay the evening at least until the investigation stops. No one knows you're here. It'll be best for you to rest. Call your lawyer and talk to Mr. Olson. Olson will talk to the cops and keep you out of the police's hands. Our guy Andy wasn't so lucky. It's been a long time coming. I think we're honored to host a hero who saved many people for the night." Martin patted Kenneth on the back. "Thanks, Mr. Martin. It's Marty for you, Kenneth." "Thank you, pal." Martin found his way to helping Gloria prepare their house for a guest, as if the kids came to visit for Christmas.
Jack Olson reviewed the recording from Kenneth's phone, unable to watch them fully. He was finding it harder to imagine what had happened up to the road for these years. Olson didn't dare to keep questioning Kenneth for the night. He saw significant evidence to convict Donna Alfie, but knew the process would be a war. After a year of legal battles, Kenneth won the lawsuit and gained ownership of the land at $20,000 for a foreclosure auction. Donna Alfie was arrested for 3 to 5 years for child molestation, 10 to 20 years for first-degree murder, and natural life in prison for unspeakable crimes against humanity. Indy was convicted for 10 years for a parole violation and died in prison. The Schultz family kept in contact with Kenneth, living well into their 90s, but never got a chance to build his vision on top of the LaLaurie Manor. Instead, he had the entire house exhumed, tore down, and the grounds excavated. Kenneth spent millions properly burying or cremating the bodies found, reconnecting people with their families, and finding psychological counseling for the hundreds of people found underground. He spent the following years of his life helping them all find homes and return to their lives. He felt bonded by their shared trauma, doing all he could to outdo the horrific works of Donna Alfie. Kenneth's story may seem shocking and far-fetched, but the events are based off true horrors plaguing the average citizen. We are all responsible for ending human trafficking and human rights violations. Let's protect each other and keep an eye out for strange behavior. Don't turn a blind eye to Amber Alerts and missing children. Let's bring these kids home to their rightful families and help the victims of human trafficking reacclimatize to society. Let's cancel the politicians, celebrities, and people raping children or using them for adrenochrome. Thank you. We continue with the soldier and the witch coven. The wolf agent trudged through the thick, pungent swamp. The dossier led him to the depths of Maya to a witch's coven. The leader was a warlock responsible for laying curses on surrounding towns and cities, holding them hostage until a 10 million deposit hit their bank account. A mysterious sickness infected millions, yet the warlock LaLaurie sat in peaceful meditation to maintain his hold and spread his influence. The wolf agent had no idea the eyes of the swamp had watched him since he first laid foot on the property. The animals, trees, and waters gave away his every step, and vertically positioned to the LaLaurie while in his meditative state. LaLaurie astral projected to stalk the sneaking agent to the hidden hatch disclosed in the dossier. The wolf agent was no other than Captain Morgan Ellis, one of the few men entrusted by the regulator regime to handle such missions. Morgan couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, yet his vision saw nothing. Even reading the energy signatures around him showed him nothing but animals. He turned quickly before opening the hatch, seeing the massive culmination of raging red life energy manifesting in LaLaurie's form. The phantom radiated a larger pulse of energy, sending a concussive wave throughout the atmosphere strong enough to knock out all the animals for miles, but barely shook Morgan. Morgan brushed off the mind attack as if feeling the breeze. LaLaurie lost concentration in his meditation, awakening from the trance in a violent rage, learning the entire coven. The regional news reports began to change, reporting full recoveries for a sum of patients as if the disease had magically disappeared. Morgan infiltrates the hatch but jumps down to be surrounded by the coven's strongest witches. The 5 witches cast their most potent spells and 2 fired off concussive mind attacks, but as earlier, it did nothing against Morgan's will. However, as he descended, 2 casted magical snares he couldn't evade in free fall. The hero lay bounded by constricting laces of energy wrapped around his torso. He struggled against the bounding until the other 2 shocked him with electricity, with all the force they could muster. His body lay in paralysis as his electromagnetic wave attempted to reset. He attempted to draw his cold steel wrist blade, his body instinctively cutting free from the lace of primal energy. Unfortunately for a hero, He had no energy left to stand. The Coven circled him, preparing the spells once more and letting loose. Morgan's eyes turned from a dark brown to a deep crimson red. His senses increased to a supernatural level, allowing him to dodge perceived attacks. He evaded 2 supernova fireball spells by drunkenly dancing out of the way. Morgan moved only to fall straight into the trap, bombarded by 3 lightning bolts, the trio of lightning creating an unavoidable torrent of lightning bolts, dropping Morgan to his knees once again. "You must be the fool they sent to stop me." Diablo strutted out to join his coven with a demented smile. "You're already stopped." Morgan lifted his head, matching Diablo's curious gaze with crimson-red eyes. In an instant, the Coven was shocked as their leader's head jerked back, blood squirting from his ears as he gripped his skull, feeling as if his brain had popped. The Mayan priest turned apostate had only heard rumors of the naughty and ocular powers of legend. The priest thought himself to expire as a force more sinister took control. The Coven attempted again to restrain Morgan, but the agent's body was already moving. He ran up the side of the walls, tucking his legs in and flipping over the Coven. He raised his arms, hoping to bring down the roof with a gravity drop. In that instant, a woman bypassed and shot 4 beams of crackling dark energy from her palm 60 feet away into Morgan's back. Morgan dropped to his knees in defeat, nearly losing consciousness from the fierce attack. He took a deep breath, filling his lungs with air as his training leaned back into guard, and then he exhaled, extending his left jab and using his right to guard his chin. In truth, the blast at the speed of lightning had knocked him out. His training kept him on his feet on the edge of consciousness. "What is going on here?" Sageflower asked without haste to join the rest of the Coven, seeing them panting and the leader wounded on a single knee, gripping his eyes. "Capture him! Everyone bind him!" the outlaws shouted, lifting a hand. They struggled to regroup, already expending more life energy than they intended, barely able to bind Morgan with the 7 of them. He gripped onto consciousness, working the bounds until LaLaurie finally stomped him twice on his throat, taking away his air and nearly closing his trachea shut. Who is he? How is he able to hold his own against you 6? Sageflower asked, giggling at how flustered her comrade seemed. "He's a wolf of the Urdu dog military, sent to assassinate me, but I saw him coming. I knew they would send someone. Without a name, I can't release my most brutal attacks. I didn't think they would send such a weakling," Diablo boasted, digging his knee deep into Morgan's throat, choking the bounded man in unconsciousness. Sageflower rolled her eyes, not expecting any thanks for her efforts or those of her coven. Since the devil began using LaLaurie, the leader, Prince Jorge Arbusto Delano, he had become greedy and paranoid. It was as if he could no longer see how his magic had turned the forest around them into a dreary, decrepit swamp in only months. Sage had attempted to warn him many times, but LaLaurie refused to listen to sound advice. He only bothered to listen to the other witches who worshipped him and followed his every word. The flowers seemed to be the only ones who noticed how the dark magic had left LaLaurie deformed, stealing years from his life and leaving the 30-year-old man wrinkled and impotent. In turn, LaLaurie sucked up the life energy from those around him, destroying the once sacred forest around him and turning these Vestals into witches under his faith. "Bring him to my torture chambers. I'll have words with him once I see what has happened to my eye." LaLaurie had only felt the migraine growing in his skull. It felt as if his parietal and frontal bone plates were separated. "Priest Delano, your eyes are bleeding." Sageflower covered her mouth in shock. "How many times must I tell you that foolish priestess died? I am no longer Delano. I am LaLaurie," he pants, placing his hands in his eyes and feeling the warm blood pouring down his hands. "Master LaLaurie, let me help you." Marjoram attempted to kneel by LaLaurie's side as the others dragged Morgan to be contained and tortured. LaLaurie forced them both away. Get away from me. How dare you? I'm fine. Both the women looked on, confused as the blood poured from his eyes. They watched in horror as he used the blood pouring from his eyes for dark magic. He muttered an incantation under his breath, then extended his hands until he grabbed onto Morgan's energy signature. He squeezed his hands shut as Morgan wailed in agony down the hallway, writhing in pain from the blood magic spell. The LaLaurie stood good as new, shaking off the injury as if nothing happened. Marjoram clapped her hands as if she had seen a miracle. Sageflower was silent. She knew the priest who had trained her and her sisters had crossed the line, selling his soul to become a full blood mage to appease his new lord. Sageflower took a deep bow and backed away, returning to her refuge in the library. Sageflower wrestled with herself. She remembered the seminary once being a place of learning and to worship or kill. Years ago, a stranger had visited, speaking to priest Delano alone. The two spoke alone for a long time, but only the priest left the room. The stranger had disappeared without a trance. Then the indoctrination began. The prayers became blasphemous slurs against God, and the youngest nuns began spending the nights in Delano's chambers, returning in new purple robes and bleeding between their legs. Sage had grown up in the Lyceum before Delano joined the priesthood, finding refuge at 3, wandering the woods. She had begun learning divination, mysticism, and alchemy. Within the decades, she knew high levels of magic. The priests were once instrumental in helping the young magicians on their pathway to good sorcery. And the dungeons. Morgan regained his consciousness. His hands and feet were bound in separate iron shackles to prevent hand movement. His body outstretched and his eyes blindfolded. He could only hear the soft cries and mournful prayers of the priests and priestesses who attempted to object to the LaLaurie's rule once the Satan spirit possessed priest Delano. Sageflower sat alone in the library, reading the same book she had been camped with for days. An ancient tome on how to purge demons, and many books about demonic possession. She felt her dark cloud creeping on her as she attempted to save the priest, turning her attention to darker and disturbed readings in the tome, learning new spells and the trustworthy source of spiritual energy. In the evening, Sageflower came, summoned by her birth sister Rosemary, their youngest sister Time, and their youngest sister Time. The three had gotten used to keeping their questions to themselves. Time had become entirely devoted to the LaLaurie, while Rosemary remained in silent resistance. Yet the three arrived in the dungeon where the LaLaurie paced inside his looming dark purple robes, his wrinkled face etched in disbelief as he wondered which spell or tortured instrument can loosen the wounded warrior's tongue. Good. You've all arrived, the LaLaurie rumbled. The three sisters blushed as the agent was bound, stripped naked. Time started giggling as she approached the young man. Her hands trailed his muscled stomach, inches away from his member as she gasped in delight. You have the best enemies. Time drooled as Rosemary jerked her away. And the worst minions, the LaLaurie growled, marching up to Time. What do you think you're doing? Time's eyes widened as she shivered in fear. She struggled to apologize, feeling her cheeks turn red under the LaLaurie's burning presence. Rosemary attempted to intercede, but Sage squeezed her hand, pulling her sister away. Time fell to her knees in tears, unable to speak. The LaLaurie held a ceremonial blade for human sacrifices to her delicate throat, pricking her skin. She's only a girl, Rosemary gritted her teeth. Then you take her place. Drive this dagger into his stomach. I want to know his name, and the name of his commanding officer. The LaLaurie restrained himself, holding the blade out to Rosemary. Without hesitation, Rosemary grabbed the blade and jabbed it into Morgan's rib, attempting to puncture his lungs. The knife broke against his skin almost instantly. Rosemary was shocked, seeing the blade cut through the other sacrifices like butter. Even she fawned before Morgan, never having seen a naked man. She blushed, backing away slowly. His skin broke the blade. It's like skin made of steel. Rosemary swallowed, attempting to stay loyal. Sage. It's your turn, Diablo said, exasperated. Sage nodded, approaching Morgan. Morgan's body tensed up, feeling Sage's wild energy flaring closer to him. Her energy burned his skin like nuclear radiation. The negative energy danced around her body, focused on her finger as she pressed her fingernail to his throat. Morgan let out a scream like a wild animal. His muscles clenched as he tried to rip the chains from the walls around him. Every muscle in his body flexed as if repelling the negative energy with his life force. Sage stepped back as the dust began to fall from the chains tugging at the ceiling. She covered her mouth. The rush of blood through his body set his soldier at attention inches from her belly button. "Back away," Diablo roared. Sage hesitated to listen as the dark voices in her mind gave her a ludicrous idea. She grabbed his manhood, channeling her death's touch through his manhood like a lightning rod, sending the dark energy throughout his entire circulatory system until it pumped through his veins to his heart. She held on long enough to stop most men's heart. Morgan schemed in agony, but refused to speak. "Both those attacks should have killed him," Sage said, impressed instead of scared. "I don't want him dead," Diablo chastised. "Well then, that's a good thing he's so strong. If he manages to get free, then you have a problem on your hands." Sage leaned her hand on his stomach, hunched, and she admired his youthful energy as he fought against the chains, as if he could free himself. "You would flee your lord and master?" Diablo asked, enraged. "Let's go time." Rosemary hurried her sister along, leaving Diablo alone with his hostage and her sister, amongst the trained bodies of the priest and priestesses. Sage released a yawn as Diablo got in her face. She freed Morgan's penis, nearly hitting Diablo as he got near. Diablo let out a wicked howl as he leaped back. He gave Sage some distance as she examined Morgan for weak spots. Are you defying me?" Diablo questioned weakly. "I'm the remnant of the priesthood you destroyed. A priesthood you could have returned to if you haven't given your body to a demon. Let's end this foolishness of killing off cities. Would we kill our kind for the allegiance of the darkness?" Sage Flower attempted to reason with Priest Delano. "Return to blind fools, worshipping the enemy of darkness. You want me to return to a life in vain as a poor servant with no power and no followers? A puppet for a kill?" Diablo responded. "I see your point. Priest Delano was rather weak, so this is the spirit I'm speaking to now. You feel as if you've given him everything he's wanted. You could have never given him a prize as big as this man's." Sage licked her lips as she examined Morgan's body, ridden with scars of war. "You desire the boy for yourself?" Diablo noticed, lightly pushing Sage Flower closer. "I will torture him for you since you seem so afraid of him. I'll learn everything." A darker tone took over Sage Flower as she dug claws into Morgan's back, finally breaking his skin. Diablo nodded with satisfaction, knowing he would hate to be against Sage Flower. He didn't protest any further, relieved of the nuisance and finally being treated. He was once Sage's teacher. His soul rested, knowing she saw through him. He relented, leaving her to find marjoram to fix his bleeding. "Who are you?" Sage Flower asked, beginning to stroke Morgan's manhood fiercely until it stood erect again. The man was silent, releasing light, uncontrollable moans. Sage's heart surged as she heard his pleasure. She felt his weakness, licking lightly at the head of his penis and then stopping once he was rock hard. "Damn," he cursed. "You hurt only yourself. I don't need to leave you in this condition. I can help you if you answer my questions." Sage teased as she slapped his girth onto her tongue, tasting drips of his life force leaking from his manhood. He was stoically refusing to speak, fighting his moans against the softness of her lips, kissing up to his length. Morgan. My name is Morgan Ellis. He surrendered his name. Who sent you to kill the LaLaurie, Morgan? Sage abandoned him once more. Chop up my cock! He dared as his desire became a weapon against him. She paused, never witnessing such bravery in the face of unknown danger. She refused to entertain his whim, lightly running her finger along every vein of his penis. She had read that this was the collection of a man's life force. It gathered in his testicles. His semen had the power to create life and other needed healing effects. She had a ready test sample for many of her experiments. They could even keep him to finally bring some children back to the monastery. Sage wondered why she suddenly couldn't speak. She blinked, watching his length, unable to control her head bobbing, obeying her carnal urges as the shadowy voices in her head enticed her along. Sage felt the new spirit creep into her body, filling her with savage lust and defiance against her self-proclaimed master. She rose ravenous, looking at the boy like prey. The satisfaction was hers alone, leaving her plaything begging and pleading for release. Who sent you? She demanded. Cullen Gregor. Morgan spat out a name. Sage Flower ground her teeth, and she dug her nails into his back before she could react or perceive her attack. How could something so beautiful work for someone so evil? She dried her nails up his back. I could ask you the same. You work for a demon, Morgan challenged. You work for the actual devil, Sage clarified. Morgan sneered. Make sure you use that name in whatever incantation you cook up. Will you release me now? No. I won't get what I want if you leave too soon. Sage let her robes drop to her feet, pressing her taut body against Morgan's skin. I guess living in this guy's harem isn't satisfying. Morgan hummed, enjoying her soft skin against his ragged flesh. I want a child. Sage turned her back to Morgan, guiding him inside her, only managing the head inside. I want a child with your power. Morgan gasped, never feeling walls so tight. Sage sucked her teeth in agony as a numb pain filled her pelvis as he stretched out her walls. If you release these chains, I promise not to run off, Morgan offered. Sage smiled. You wouldn't try to break my neck? No. I like you chained up. I may need a few days to loosen up for you. So here you will have to remain. What? Morgan couldn't accept her answer, once again fighting against his chains in anger. I'll need to create a powerful aphrodisiac for you. Sage pulled away, her juices leaving a trail mixed with his pre-cum. Morgan growled in defeat. His energy felt utterly depleted from the electric attacks earlier. The LaLaurie's blood magic had left him wounded. The chains rattling around him brought him no rest at all past dusk. His eyes kept opening, but everything was pitch black under the sweaty blindfold, causing him to hallucinate. Sage was so powerful, an attack from her could nearly knock him out. She tried using the touch of death twice on him, to no avail. Why did they send you? Sage asked. I was one of their top agents. Before I got ambushed, Morgan grunted. Sage nodded, acknowledging his power and ability. If I hadn't appeared, you might have gotten away with your target. I might have let you kill Delano if you hadn't been fighting my sisters. What happened to Priest Delano? Morgan asked. You're asking me questions now? Sage asked insulted. We both know the only way I'll be successful in my mission is through you. I'll give you a child if you let me finish my mission. You want a life for a life. Equivalent exchange. Sage mulled over the idea. Your math is off.
I need 2 more lives. I'll be giving you Delano. Their life isn't worth much to me anymore. However, I will also be giving you the demon LaLaurie and your life. I could impregnate your sisters as well. I could owe you 2 deaths. Just let me go. Morgan began rattling his chains again. Shays let out a wicked laugh. You would owe me. Do I look like a fool for accepting your debts? You'll disappear into the night, leaving me with children and deaths to explain. No. You will stay with me and raise your child. You'll remain chained here as our breeder. That's not equal, Morgan spat. I'm not trading with you. You have nothing else I want besides what is between your legs. If I wanted LaLaurie dead, I would have done it myself. He serves his purpose in my plot. You were an unexpected arrival. Sage's father begins to collect fluid samples of his sweat and pre-cum. Can you at least take off the blindfold? Morgan acts nonchalantly. Why are you blindfolded? Sage asks, thumbing the thick cloth wrapped around his eyes in layers. He wanted to hide my beauty so he wouldn't betray him. Let me at least see the woman taking advantage of me, he pleaded sincerely. Sage bit her lip, her curiosity far from sated. She encircled him a few times before piecing it all together. Sage hadn't arrived at the fight in time to see the debilitating blow that wounded LaLaurie. She moved closer to remove his blindfold. Don't! Rosemary called out. Sage covered her naked body as her sister marched up. Sage struggled to grab her robes before being confronted, nearly falling over the table holding the torture devices. What sort of perverted act is this, sister? Rosemary was bewildered. In front of the priest and priestesses as well? Are you the one possessed? Sage rubbed her head, unsure whether or not Rosemary had a point. Sage's cheeks were flushed red as she slowly backed away. She pleaded with her sister to remain quiet and return to her duties. Rosemary, please relax. It's what it looks like, but nothing more. Please, watch the door. Warn me if someone else comes, Sage begged. You'll defile your virginity for this prisoner? Rosemary shook her head in disappointment. He's here to kill LaLaurie. Sage tries to explain her attraction. He would have killed you too. He's an audience. His gaze almost blew up LaLaurie's head. He's deadly, especially while vulnerable. Rosemary successfully convinced her sister. You were going to betray me? Sage asked, genuinely hurt. You would have tried to kill me if I took off your blindfold. I would have only knocked you unconscious or gotten you to free me. I wouldn't have killed you, Morgan tries to justify. Shut your mouth. I guess they'll blight upon you. Sage waved her hands, washing necrotic energy over Morgan's body, draining him of all life, moisture, and energy. Remember, you can't kill him until you finish questioning him, Rosemary warned. Keep a look at as Sage took out her rage. Sage relented, canceling her spell, letting out a primal scream as frustration made her lose control. Still, he was alive, his body quickly recovering from the attack in her astonishment. Rosemary joined her in shock, knowing they were the two most vital in the Coven, aside from the possessed LaLaurie. If Sage couldn't leave a lasting dent, leaving him chained until morning would behoove everyone involved. How did you negate my attack? Sage fell to her knees, overwhelmed by emotions. I didn't negate anything. You had me chained up. I've experienced worse pain than you could ever imagine. My body gets stronger near death. The more you attempt to torture me, the more of your energy I gather, and the more pissed off you make me. I enjoyed it more when you were molesting me, I hate to say. He tugged at the chain on his right arm so hard it began to rip from the concrete and cement from the walls. How much energy did you use? Rosemary collected their fight from earlier and her sister's temper. We need to free him or leave now. Sage was disappointed. I wasn't trying to rape you. Seduce me? Morgan jeered, causing Sage to look away, hiding her blushing cheeks. There are few men here. Most are elderly or took vows of celibacy. We haven't had children in this monastery for decades. I believe we might have been the last 30 years ago because we got lost in the woods, Sage confessed. Sad story. My parents were killed by the man who raised me, Morgan confided. Sage held her heart. We must leave our new friend here for now. Let at least one arm free, or a leg. Morgan rattled his chains, making enough noise to awake the entire room, filling with pleas and groans for freedom. The cacophony of her wailing mentors and friends was deafening to Sage. Rosemary looked around in amazement at how fear had conquered her and left those she had loved remaining as prisoners under their roof. Rosemary always hoped this would have ended quickly, and she managed to kill Delano, or Sage to purge the demons so they could free the priest and priestesses. Things happened so fast they didn't realize years had passed. What if we let everyone else free but him? Rosemary asked. Sage considered another night with an empty room, averting her eyes as Rosemary rushed to let loose a few of the oldest members of the congregation. Their muscles had atrophied to a point where they could barely move independently. Rosemary disintegrated the chains of the middle-aged members' necks until her life energy had expended. Sage stayed by Morgan, watching on in resentment as her old friends passed her, unable to look her in the eyes after witnessing her sister attempt to break her vow of abstinence. Is that everyone? How are we going to explain this to LaLaurie? Sage was so frustrated with her sister. Like this. Rosemary peered the blindfold from Morgan's eyes, letting it fall to his shoulders as it slipped off. Sage was breathless as she laid eyes on Morgan's face. You are quite handsome. Morgan's eyes stung, struggling to adjust to the light. I can't see a thing. You must knock us out. Rosemary grabbed Sage. You want me to knock you out? You're going to blame all this on me? How did I manage to get you both? He asked, hoping for something more believable than the apparent betrayal. You're right. Just do Sage. She's the one who tortured you. Then I found her naked and unconscious. Everyone was gone already. Rosemary pieced together. Sage looked nervous, replaying the blood pouring from Priest Delano's face. Can't we say he knocked me out already? You're just finding me now and the prisoners already escaped. Sage took a deep breath. Or you can free me and we can kill this guy so you can have your home back tonight, Morgan galvanized. Rosemary nodded, but Sage was reluctant to let go of control. You think you have enough strength left to fight him? He's a blood mage now, and your back is bleeding. Can't we pick up where we left off with some privacy? Sage urged. Morgan couldn't waste another day or hour in torture. He began to grunt and clench his fist as he pressed the metal with his fingers. He was trying to draw his knees to his chest. Rosemary starts backing toward the exit as the roof shakes, and the solid concrete begins to crack, paralyzing her body in fear. Sage stood in awe, watching as the bindings holding the chains to the wall began to pull loose. Rosemary was almost gone until she saw her little sister standing still as the roof started to fall. Rosemary dashed back to grab Sage, trying to tuck her away. Morgan released a reverberating roar, breaking every chain and ripping the roof down. He holds the two sisters and teleports out of the room back to his original entry point from the hidden hatch. He dropped them both, falling to his knees to catch his breath. So, that just happened. Marjorie blinked as her friends appeared before her eyes. Hey! Rosemary falls in her butt, giving a slight wave before she drops to her pack, piecing together what happened. Hey, Rosemary. Sage, why are you naked?
Marjoram had been taking blood samples from LaLaurie's injury. You would have been naked too. Sage gleamed as she walked to Morgan. Can you heal his injuries? Can I heal the enemy's wounds? Are you two out of your gourds? We should be telling LaLaurie or getting the others. Why are you on his side now? Marjoram shook her head. Morgan stood up, got to catching his breath and letting his eyes adjust to the bright lights. He smiled wide, seeing the three beautiful women before him once with a fresh mind. Sage was a petite older woman with round hips. She held to her robes in one hand. The other hand rubbed his wounds with long nails lightly brushed against their handiwork on his back. Sage had a delightful derangement on her lips. She and her sister shared a fawn complexion with youthful golden light brown skin. Sorry. Sage noticed him looking her over and letting the robe drop again, revealing her voluptuous frame and ample breast. You're beautiful. In a horror movie villain kind of way. Morgan placed a hand on her hip. Are you serious about that baby stuff? Since I saved my own life, I think we're even. Are you sure we can't keep him as a pet? Sage purred as she bit her lip, as her eyes studied the man she felt was twice her size, bouncing her waist from hand to hand. Whoa, hold on, you two. Marjoram tries to stand between them and hold them apart. Marjoram was a slender girl wearing the same purple robes as the other followers of LaLaurie. She wore brown plastic-framed glasses with freckles on her cheeks and nose. Her alabaster skin rushed with blood as she touched their naked skin, immediately inching away slowly. Marjoram felt tears fill her leaf-green eyes, beginning to whine about getting in trouble. Can you heal him, or not? Rosemary asked from her back, the older of the two Flower sisters. If they stop kissing, I'll do anything to stop the kissing. It's so gross. Marjoram hides her face, peeking through her fingers. You should have seen her in the torture chamber. Sage did things to him that would blow your mind. None of it looked very torturous, Rosemary teased. If we can kill our enemies but not suck their cocks, we're no better than them, Rosemary says from Morgan's arms, loving the feeling of being held by a man for the first time in Sage's life. How long were you watching us then, Rosemary? Rosemary felt silent. You're so gross. Marjoram covers her mouth. I'm 30. Sage sucks her teeth, allowing Morgan to kiss her neck. Can we heal me now? I need to grab some clothes as well. Morgan shakes off his boyish libido and focuses. You can shower in my room. You won't need clothes when this is over. Sage enforces the feeling she and Rosemary could still subdue him if needed for safekeeping, figuring out how to keep her new pet long term. Ah, yes, true. But if I had my jumpsuit or trench coat, I can make this fight a lot easier. Even just my weapons, Morgan reasoned. No, absolutely not. What are you all planning? Marjoram began to cry. LaLaurie will be so angry with us. Well, I have no idea where your clothes are or why they got removed. Rosemary shrugs. Guess I'm going commando for this one. Much unexpected, but I'll make it work. Morgan tries to realign his mind for success. Marjorie's jaw dropped, believing this man thought he could take on LaLaurie unarmed, even naked. She nearly fainted, feeling the world she's come to know for years will soon end. She was a relatively new initiate when the stranger first came, a faithful student who took the policies and rules naturally rather than the other's resistance. LaLaurie had been the only authority in the monastery she truly knew. Rosemary took a deep breath, having to take Morgan at his word. What she saw was incredible, but what she'd seen LaLaurie do was blood-curdling. If Morgan could get a hand on him, then they were saved. Sage shook her head, believing he had lost his mind. She snapped out of her lust, listening to him and tried to fire himself up. Her stomach turned at his blind optimism, thinking he would forget where he had come if he knew the dark magic had taken over Priest Milano's vessel. The priest was gone.
Even the injury she saw earlier would have killed an ordinary man. Instead, he remained conscious like a zombie and pieced himself together like a robot. A dark spirit of greater power possessed him. With youthful naivete, wouldn't save the day. Sage accepted the hard facts and looked at Rosemary with a swollen face. Rosemary had already felt the same. "We'll fight alongside you," the Flower Sisters confirmed in unison. "Are you sure?" Morgan matches the severity. "I understand your bravado, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I want my home back. With the other priests and priestesses gone, I can rebuild this place. We can learn how to defend ourselves against evil spirits and keep our power." Sage looked at Marjoram. "Will you join us?" "What? I could have said no to you and gotten out of this already?" Marjoram looked at the two women who helped her adjust around the monastery. Well, my ears don't deceive me. I will kill you for your betrayal." LaLaurie roared, beginning to build up his power as he stomped up the hallway. Morgan teleported to LaLaurie's position, appearing right before his eyes. LaLaurie lost his entire focus, sloppily lifting his arm to block a faint left jab as Morgan ducks under, slamming a left hook into the priest's liver, causing it to pop like a balloon. LaLaurie began to siphon his blood to heal the injury subconsciously. Morgan tries to grab the priest's head and kickboxing clinch, but only grabs a handful of blood as the body dematerializes instantly. Rosemary finally stood after realizing the fight had begun. Morgan moved so quickly she hadn't seen. She wasn't alone as LaLaurie sought to regroup. The trail of blood was beginning to flee down the hallway. Sage managed to raise her hands, creating a shimmering multicolored wall of light as if made of crystals. The blood trail found no escape. LaLaurie tried to rematerialize, slamming against the wall and attempting to bore through a small hole. Marjoram saw her friends moving and made the only attack she knew. Marjoram inhaled deeply and then released an intense, freezing gale of wind. The wall withstands, Sage maintaining concentration as the pressurized winds brush past her. The trail of blood freezes, as does the beginning reformation of LaLaurie attempting to rematerialize, clawing against the wall for escape. Morgan approaches the ice sculpture, lifting one hand to the sky. "Almighty God of Abraham, Jarrah Kill, I purge this evil spirit. Cleanse this temple and freeze these wayward souls. I pray amen in the name of the Father, the Mother, and the Son." The ice shattered like glass without being touched, then evaporated with the scent of fire and brimstone. Morgan saved once again by the living God. Whew. That was a nice workout. Morgan stretched out, finally able to relax. "Marjoram, you're amazing," Rosemary cheered, hugging the girl. Sage had believed she could have stood her own against LaLaurie, but seeing how Morgan fought, she was unprepared for anything he might be capable of, fully armed or armored. The thought excited her to no end. Sage crept as she watched her sister cheer on Marjoram. Sage led Morgan away to her quarters to fulfill his promise of siring a child. Rosemary and Marjoram struggled to find them. They searched for half an hour until finding the Coven surrounding Sage's room. "What's happening?" Marjoram asked, hearing Sage's belaboring screams filling the hall. Rosemary grew quiet. Many of the girls worried for her sister. They feared the words once they saw the assassin emerge from her room. He stood at half-mast, looking at the crowd of furious women preparing their spells to finish the fight and win the day. "Have any of you seen my clothes?" Morgan asked, rubbing the side of his neck instead of covering his manhood, creating a room of murmurs. Instead, Sage came waddling out on pens and needles. Barely able to stand, wrapped in the bed sheets she mistakenly thought were her robes on the floor. "It's alright, girls. LaLaurie's dead. They're only trying to make a baby." That's a wild line. That is a wild line. That's out of character. Let's get back in character. "It's alright, girls. LaLaurie's dead. They're only trying to make a baby." Rosemary waves her hands, attempting to intervene. The Coven was even more upset, gasping in shock as Rosemary became their new target, shoving her along with her sister and Morgan. They denied the possibility of LaLaurie dying. LaLaurie claimed to be immortal and all-powerful. He said that by selling his soul, he gained eternity and the hidden knowledge of the ages. Yet he was defeated by this trio. The Coven grows into a frenzy, with a few women breaking into tears and cries, unable to accept all they had done for eternal power, to find out that it had all been a lie. A couple of witches remaining stood toe-to-toe with Rosemary and Sage. Sage was barely able to stand. Her legs were weak. What little strength remained clenched her legs together to hold the young man seated inside. Rosemary creates armor around her body, prepared to fight through the crowd if needed. I'll be in bed waiting for you to get done. Don't hurt my girls too bad. Sage kissed Morgan on the cheek, leaving him and her sister. The two witches sized up Rosemary, believing they could probably double-team her. But the allure and scent of the man beside her ruined their concentration. There were too many questions in their mind to form an attack. His androstenol filled their nostrils and senses with emotions they had never possessed for Pristolano or any of the other men in the monastery. I'm not backing down. One filled her hands with necrotic energy until she saw her comrade meekly following after Sage, curious what had happened. Maka, where are you going? We're in the middle of a fight. We can rebuild this monastery without a cult. I freed the other priests and priestesses. We can have a home again. Rosemary attempts to convince her, but her eyes haven't left Morgan's waistline. Wow. LaLaurie is dead and he isn't coming back. Maka acts as Morgan took her hand, leading her to the room. He's all gone. Morgan reassures, letting her walk in front of him. Marjorie closed the door behind Morgan and Maka, glad she wouldn't have to hear their moans and especially not their kissing again. Wait, that wasn't what I meant by joining us. Rosemary turned on the other witches. This is a new time for magic. We don't have to kill, destroy, steal, or hurt others. We can help people. We can help fight off the evil in this world. I've seen the power of Raquel today. We may not be followers of Raquel, but we still have the same enemies as his children. Marjorie cloth when Rosemary was done, far happier with the idea of her taking over than Sage. Rosemary had always been stalwart for protecting the old ways of the monastery and carrying herself proud in her celibacy. Sage tiptoed between helping LaLaurie when it felt fit to her plan. Rosemary had no plan and boldly stood against the demon and had been there to support all the women as they grew in power, never feeling threatened or stifling the others. Rosemary began organizing the reconstruction as Sage and the others explored their sexuality. Rosemary first ordered a number to find the priests and priestesses who fled, not knowing what the outside world held. The next order was to gather all the books in the library on fighting demons and begin reading aloud for defense against the darkness. The third order was to prepare a light feast for dinner, and the final order was to find Morgan's clothes so they wouldn't have to stare at his penis. Morgan enjoyed his time. They were calling in the mission and choosing to stay for a few months to help rebuild the monastery. Sage felt reassured that he had great integrity, but the woman conceived the child despite their efforts. Rosemary led, with Morgan taking a backseat to respect her ways. Despite their best efforts, the monastery hadn't returned to normal. It had improved to a greater level. Together with Morgan, they converted the swamp into a living rain garden with enough food to feed them in most surrounding towns. With a high-ranking regulator as adjudicator for peace negotiations, the Coven got spared being burned alive. Morgan explained the truth behind the evil and helped create clear pathways to prevent children from getting lost in the woods. Morgan also brokered a partnership between the towns to stabilize the economy in the region and reduce the competition, creating redundancy. In his final months, Morgan built their borders at his neighboring towns to grow up in peace. Defense against the dark arts and critical thinking in discernment classes became mandatory as arithmetic. The area of Maya was never the same again, and with his secrecy as a wolf, Morgan refused to tell who to think. The only ones who knew his identity were the women who had made love to him, asking who might sire their child. There is more. Morgan returned to his life as the regime, preparing for the duties of the stubborn Urdun traditions and mindsets. The ideas of ease he accomplished in 3 months at Maya, beginning as a prisoner, motivated him, though Morgan remained astonished that Urdu hadn't made similar progress in 3 centuries. As he lay alone in his villa, preparing for the last few days before leaving for his resignation mentioned, he understood why Urduns had such difficulties. The Mayans wanted to improve for the better at any cost. The Urduns fought as a first, second, and last resort always. It didn't matter what stood to be lost or gained. In Urdu, it was an honor to die for what one believes. At Maya, such a thing was inexcusable. His commanding officer, Lord Commissioner Warren, sent him to Maya, but he learned many lessons. Morgan had wondered why he had such difficulty attempting to adapt to Urdun culture for over a decade. Being a foreigner was an apparent reason why he couldn't refuse. He understood that the region stand united by diverse appearances and cultures, and bring new thoughts, beliefs, and ethics to survive. Maya has separated the humans of Gaia, and the 100 little unbreakable rules other parts of the world shatter. Did Brian Qatar deserve to die for believing differently than the regular regime or Colin McGregor? Or do they all fear the change Brian would create if he had 3 months of Morgan's ear and efforts?